Alright, I think we should be all good now. Maybe. My God. Oh, I really don't know now. Shit. Gilgamesh, I don't think I've seen you here before. Thanks for popping by. How you doing? Oh, I really don't know now. I have no idea. Alright, we're cocked on Worldle. Or Tradle, rather. We'll go to Worldle. Mexico? Ha! Let's go. Alright, 2 more minutes and then I'm going to get started. Doing well. Long time VOD watcher due to time. Hope you're liking the Lord of the Mysteries. I don't know how you can just put it down after stream. Oh, I appreciate you watching the VODs, Gilgamesh. Yark, how's it going, man? Yeah, it was something I had to come to because like when I first started reading it and I was doing it off stream, I used to do like I think I was doing like 25 chapters a day, and then when I first started streaming, I could barely do like 5 chapters because my throat would just hurt so much. So it was definitely hard back then, but now I'm reading about as much as maybe not as much as I'd like to, but like as spending as much time as I can dedicating to it. Because like at this point, I stream for I don't know 5-6 hours a day reading it. So I like even if I wanted to read it after, which I do, I don't really have that much more time to dedicate to it anyway. So at that point, it's just like, okay, no problem. I'll just do it on stream. I'm happy to. How you doing today, Yark? All right, we'll get started in a couple of minutes. I assume Gilgamesh that you were done. Lord of the Mysteries. Then I guess. Fine. I overslept. Wait, hold on. Do you mean sorry, Yark? Do you mean you slept 10 hours, or do you mean you overslept how much ever you were supposed to sleep by 10 hours? Because there's a big difference between the two. Good lord. Light, Nagito, how's it going, man? You're done both books? Nice. By the way, let me know if you guys can, one, hear me okay and hear the music okay, because I'm streaming from my MacBook as opposed to my computer as usual, because, again, I'm trying to prep as much as I can for when I'm streaming not from my house, when I have to go visit my granddad. So just trying to figure out as much as I can. Let me know if everything sounds okay, if you can hear the music okay, if the overlay looks okay. Since I was messing around with it, I changed the photos, so music's a bit low, no problem. Had a horrible time making iced tea. What happened, Nagito? Alright, hopefully the music's a little bit better now. Let me know if it's still too quiet. I can adjust always. Alright. On that note, it's 11:01. We'll get started. I'm guessing most people are running a little late today. No problem. All right. White feathers. Looking at the corpseless grave, Klein suddenly had a thought. Angel. In the canon of the 7 major churches, they were filled with the legends of angels and saints. The former had one characteristic, a pair of pure white wings on its back, as many as 2, 3, or even 6 pairs of pure white wings. What the fuck? For some reason, every step I'm making these two are wrong. However, in the blink of an eye, Klein remembered something else. Mr. Azek had once described his dream to him, one that seemed to indicate his different lives. One of the scenes was inside a dark mausoleum. There were many opened ancient coffins beside him, and in the coffins there were corpses with white feathers growing from their backs. You mean ice coffin? Yeah, I figured. No, it's no worries. Don't you... Am I misremembering? Do you not have an exam, or is that someone else? I might be misremembering. Is this a special characteristic of the death pathway, or a strange phenomenon caused by the numinous episcopate? Klein didn't say a word as he restrained his emotions and calmly looked at the white feathers stained with yellowish oil at the bottom of the grave. Yeah, I have it after 2.5 hours. Oh, Nagito, go study. What are you watching me for? You can go watch. You can watch the VOD later. Or go study, or sleep, or do something. His initial judgment was that the old gentleman wasn't an angel, as a terrifying Sequence 2 or Sequence 1 Beyonder would certainly produce an intense effect on their surroundings when they died. For example, the holy artifact, the ashes of a saint which had been stored behind Tingen City's Chanis Gate, would extend almost invisible, thin, black and cold lines so as to seal the people and things around it. Of course, it's also possible that he didn't actually die. Maybe he's like Mr. Azek. Klein bent down and picked up 3 white feathers with his black-gloved right hand. Well, watching you already studied? Is that you're making people get great up? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing, yeah. He planned to do a divination above the grey fog when he returned home. At that moment, Kapusky came to his senses, scrambled to Klein's side, and looked at the grave with a hint of fear. Where's the body? Klein looked at him and said, maybe he left by himself. He left by himself? Kapusky repeated in fear, but now fully aware of how terrible it was for the dead to awaken. As his legs trembled, he muttered to himself, but I didn't use the resurrection ritual on him. Klein turned around and looked at him for a few seconds. Death is not the end. Oh, thanks for popping by, Chris. How you doing? Death is not the end? Death is not the end. Kapusky was quite frightened by his own beliefs as he blurted out, will he come back? Also, it's a monthly exam? Wait, you have monthly exams? Like you have an exam every month for every subject? That sounds insane. Well, the copper whistle he had summoned, summoned a messenger which had probably corresponded to the old gentleman. In other words, by giving the messenger a letter, it's equivalent to sending a letter to the old man, a man who's been dead for almost half a year. I wonder where he went and what kind of state he's in. In response to Kapusky's question, Klein gave him an indifferent reminder. Do not blow that copper whistle again. You mean the copper whistle will draw him back? Before Klein could answer, he's asked again, can you help me throw this copper whistle into the Tussock River? If you can't, I'll do it myself. Today's Arabic and geography? Jesus. Are you more worried about Arabic or geography? Weren't you interested in the philosophy of death? Klein lampooned. He was planning on sending the dead man a letter when the conditions were right to see what would happen. Of course, the prerequisite for all this was that he was certain there wasn't too much danger involved. After instructing Kapusky to fill the grave again, Klein had a brief exchange with him about the spirit dance and the corresponding mysticism knowledge. Enriching his own knowledge, he also asked Kapusky in detail about how he laid the old gentleman's body facing down in accordance with his last words. Under certain special circumstances, using spirit dance to replace part of the cumbersome setup for ritualistic magic would be more effective and simple. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Klein warned Kapusky to stop dabbling with the so-called resurrection rituals. My day was pretty good, Chris. Just a lot of housework today. We have a tree in our backyard that grows, and it was getting really close to the house. So I did a lot of cutting that down, or like cutting branches that were getting real close to the house and stuff, and just doing that, snapping them to smaller bits and that sort of stuff. Just took hours. Geography, my Arabic teacher will make everyone pass because he's leaving the school this year and wants to piss off the principal. Well, that's good. Okay, so you only really have to worry about one. Then he left the street through the garden and took a long detour via carriage to the East Borough. After changing back into his previous clothes, he returned to Minsk Street and entered his bedroom. After a series of actions, he carried the 3 white feathers and Kapusky's copper whistle above the grey fog. Seated in the fool's high-backed chair, Klein conjured a paper and a pen. He wrote a divination statement. Its origins. Then he, Where am I? And then he held the 3 white feathers and leaned back into his chair. As he chanted silently, Klein entered a dreamland. It was a blurry grayish-white all around him. In this world, there was rich darkness without any light. Suddenly, the darkness was dyed with a crimson shade. A thin, pale hand reached out of the yellowish-brown soil. A figure slowly got up. He didn't lift the stone tablet, but pierced through the soil directly. Under the crimson-red moonlight, the clothes on the figure's back were tattered, and the white feathers grew out one after another. The white-haired man tilted his head, revealing the red spots on his face, as well as blank, emotionless eyes. It began to walk, struggling through the surrounding fences, heading deeper into the darkness until it disappeared far away. The dream shattered and Klein woke up. The white feathers sprouted from the back of the corpse. Its state resembles Miss Sharon's, but it's clearly different as well. It gave off a very heavy and corporeal feeling. It seemed to be phasing between a human's body and a spirit's body in a semi-natural and incomplete transformation. An envoy that's connected to the real world and spirit world. Klein tapped the edge of the long table and thought for a while. Then he divined whether there was any danger in using the copper whistle he received from Kapusky at that very moment, and he received a positive answer. Furthermore, the spirit pendulum moved with great amplitude and frequency. It's a pity that I can't use the copper whistle above the grey fog. The messenger wouldn't be able to enter here at all. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any danger. After muttering to himself, he descended through the grey fog and returned to the real world. In early morning, in a relatively refreshing woods in the Empressborough, the apothecary, with a round face who was in his 30s, appeared in a secluded corner and stored the herbs that he had secretly planted into a leather bag that he carried with him. After completing the mission for the day, he straightened his back and began to stretch his body. He mumbled to himself in great satisfaction. Sure enough, my physical constitution has improved. I'm no longer like what I was before when I was relatively resistant to poisonous elements. However, why is my sequence 8 Beast Tamer? What does it have to do with apothecary? Oh, Beast Tamer is a potion. Easy was kind of right, but it's not in the seer pathway. It's in the fucking apothecary pathway. God, that's so stupid. Looks like I'm not too late. How's all my hidden sage worshippers doing? Good, Unhinged. How you doing, man? Sorry, I gotta pull up my notes. Apothecary 8 Beast Tamer. This is how Easy's Beast Tamer theory got debunked. That's so cute. What did the last couple chapters cover? That's a great fucking question. He became, so Klein became a magician. So he got all those powers. He then helped this, the son of this jewelry magnate who was being haunted by by a wraith. And then he stopped a meeting of the Numinous Episcopate, which is where he found that guy, which is where he found out about that guy. He then traced him down to his house. Crap, did I miss your reaction to the magician power? Yes, that was this morning. Magician is cool as fuck, dude. Holy shit, he's actually kind of overpowered now. Like, Seer was kind of useless, but a Clown was pretty good. Magician's fucking awesome. What the fuck? Then will my sequence 7 be able to tame and use humans? The old geezer didn't even tell me the name of the sequence 7, nor did he give me the formula. When I stabilize, I'll have to try contacting him. I need to go back and see it later. Yeah, it was just the one. It was just the one from this morning. But yeah, that was awesome as fuck, dude. I am so glad, because this entire time his powers have been like, I mean, again, the Clown one was decent, but like, now here is where we're like, okay, we're actually getting some power-ups now. Like, now he's starting to look damn near superhuman, because now he has divination powers to get ready for a battle beforehand, Clown to be able to move around really good, to be able to, like, you know, have a lot of agility and stuff, and now Magician to actually be able to deal damage to a significant degree. Like, we're cooking now. Magician powers are so cool. Totally agree. There's no bad pathways. But of course, for you readers, but again, yeah, I base it on two things, man. Coolness and utility. Utility, reader might be really high, but apothecary and reader are both so boring. Like, the coolness factor is like negative 5,000. I can't even. The apothecary began punching and kicking to get used to his strength and body. He only stopped when he was utterly exhausted. While panting, he began to consider a serious problem. How should a beast tamer act? Beast tamer. How should it be done? Look for animals and tame them? As the apothecary was mumbling to himself, he suddenly sensed something and looked at the artificial lake. There was a huge golden retriever running happily. Susie? The golden retriever seemed to notice his gaze as it suddenly turned its head to look at him. As their gazes met mid-air, the golden retriever froze for a moment, then nimbly turned around and ran away, disappearing without a trace. Just wait till high sequences? Yeah. I noticed there are no mods right now. Yeah, but you gotta remember, I don't have mods to protect me from you guys. You guys have mods to protect you from me. Let's be really clear. So yeah, go off, go off, Unhinged. In the Hall's family luxurious villa. In the Hall family's luxurious villa, Susie returned to the piano room and sat beside Audrey's feet, her tongue hanging outside as she panted heavily. Audrey, I met a scary guy. His eyes were scary. Is that so? What did he do to you? Audrey asked. I don't know either. In short, he's very dangerous. That was my intuition. What does he look like? Audrey asked. I didn't see him clearly. I feel that he is my natural enemy. Oh, because he's a beast tamer. Oh, that's so cute. Your natural enemy? A dog-type nemesis? Audrey gave a reserved smile. Susie, don't go into those woods for now. Woof. Audrey, were you in a bad mood? I could tell from your piano music. Audrey nodded gently and said, Yeah, I received a word from Glaint that Forz and Gilles wanted to inform me that this evening's gathering has been cancelled. I was originally planning on exchanging some Beyonder ingredients for you, and also attempt to come into contact with people from the Psychology Alchemist, she added in her heart. Why? Susie asked. It's said to be the result of the serial murders. I'll screenshot any spoilers and you're going to trial. On Saturday morning, Backlund's air was as bad as usual. Klein was trying to make a noodle dish which he had loved to eat as a child. For this, he bought high-quality flour, added water and sugar, and mixed it into the pot of thin paste. By the way, is sound and everything looking okay? The camera angle isn't exactly where I would like it to be. I mean, maybe I can adjust it a little bit. I don't know. This sounds good. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. The flat piece of bread only had a rich fragrance of wheat and a sweet taste that whetted his appetite. It was simple and plain, but it tasted exceptional. It's the taste from my memories. Klein quickly ate and occasionally drank a mouthful of paste. Always ignore Unhinged. Yeah, I began to... when it was like his second or third stream, I developed that instinct. Like, okay, just... When he said something not about the stream or anything... Listen to him. He might actually occasionally say something really insightful. But as soon as he starts saying anything about the stream, just pretend he's not even here. As soon as he returned to the dining room with that flat bread and paste, Klein impatiently tore off a piece and stuffed it into his mouth. No, I already read this. As he was almost done eating and started to slow down, the doorbell suddenly rang. A new commission? Klein took off his napkin, wiped his hands, and got up to go to the door. Before he touched the handle, the image of a visitor appeared in his mind. It was a middle-aged gentleman with white sideburns, a thin face, and an outstanding temperament. It was the detective, Isengard Stanton. Why is he here? Klein opened the door and said, Good morning, Mr. Stanton. Is there something? They were warning him about me before I even found him. It was rigged from the start. Good morning, Mr. Moriarty. I wish to work with you. I believe you're an excellent detective. After all, you previously managed to lead your investigations all the way to the East Balam dock and the dock union all by yourself. Cooperate? Isengard tapped his black cane and suddenly replied in a deep voice, to find the serial killer behind the recent chain of murders. The police has already offered a reward of £2,000? What the fuck? Sorry, I'm trying to read it on my screen up here, which means the very, very bottom gets a little hard to see sometimes. Fuck. But hey, that's okay. £2,000? That's enough to drive all the bounty hunters and private detectives in Backland crazy. This isn't like the Vice Admiral who was out at sea for extended periods of time and had a bunch of subordinates. It's a bounty that can easily be touched if one reaches out. Well, a pirate with a combat prowess comparable to a Sequence 5 was worth £10,000, and a Sequence 6 murderer would be at a value of $3,000 to $4,000 to be reasonable. Could it be the Nighthawks and Punishers have misjudged the serial killer to be a Sequence 7, rather than a quasi-expert who's about to advance to Sequence 5? Easy will probably finish Volume 2 within the week. But isn't Easy at like 420 or something? He would need like 60 chapters in a week. I mean, it's doable. Again, Easy is going to be, right now, I think, where I finish off today, Easy is probably going to be like, it's probably like 100 chapters ahead of me. I'm not going to catch up to him that quickly, but like, in time, I will catch up and be ahead of him. I just have a lot more free time. I'm a fucking child. Well, I guess, well, now that I've graduated, I think technically I'm an adult, but I guess before I start my first job, I'm technically considered an adult, or a child, so fuck it. Easy said he'll start doing 20 chapters a day. You're lying. What? I can't do that. I'm at like 15 a day. What the fuck? Until Volume 2 end. Oh. I can't. Yeah. Then in that case, he'll build up a little bit of a lead. Again, that's fine. And then he'll grow it even bigger when I'm on. When I'm off. Well, not off, but when I'm away for a little bit. But it's okay. We'll catch up. It's very possible that the ritual that the sun mentioned is rather ancient. Perhaps after the cataclysm, it has rarely appeared again. And the few great churches and military don't have any information regarding this. Don't trust Unhinged, you learn. Don't trust Unhinged, you learned this? I did, yeah, but Light said it too, no? Is Light lying too? Light, I thought we were friends. Better not be. It's very possible that the ritual that the sun mentioned is rather ancient. Perhaps after the cataclysm it has rarely appeared again, and the few great churches and military don't have any information regarding this. There's an underlying problem. The Church of the Goddess, the Steam of Machinery, as well as the Augustus royal family was said to have risen from the cataclysm. It's reasonable that they aren't aware of the past, but the Church of the Storm has always insisted they're one of the oldest. Could it be that their age is referring to a period after the devils retreated back to the abyss? After hearing Isengard Stan's words, the first thing that flashed past Klein's mind was to assess the amount of the bounty. Then he allowed his mind to begin to wander, and made many connections. What's your opinion? Isengard noticed that Sherlock seemed distracted and pressed him. My opinion? A normal private detective would have definitely agreed, both because of the great bounty and because of the well-known detective in front of him. A friendship with Isengard would provide him with great benefits in the detective circle. But the problem was that Klein wasn't a normal PI. He was worried that he would run into the Nighthawks who were in charge of the investigation. Although I now have a beard, glasses, and a change of hairstyle, the few Nighthawks who have seen me only a few times wouldn't recognize me. But if it was Madame Daly... However, it also isn't right to turn down the request. That wouldn't make any sense. It would appear bizarre and suspicious. I do hope I catch that devil as soon as possible. Otherwise, I don't know how many innocent girls will be killed. Then he said, I've taken on a very troublesome case recently. I'm afraid I don't have much spare time. I can participate in the discussion and help you look through the information, but I don't think I'll be able to make any specific investigations. I'll do a divination later. If there's a problem, I'll hold back from sharing my opinion and purely be a spectator. Holding the black cane in his hand, Isengard pondered and said, No problem. Hi, Dr. Z. How you doing? Oh, come on, work. Yes, new pictures. I'm streaming from my laptop today, so I had to reset. So I had to set up everything again. So I figured if I'm gonna go through the trouble of doing that, might as well get some new pictures up, right? I've gathered more than a dozen detectives and have enough people to perform the investigation. What I admire the most about you is your excellent reasoning and analytical skills. Without as many resources as me, you actually managed to go all the way to the East Balam dock and went to the dock union. If we do capture the criminal and receive the bounty, I'll distribute the rewards according to everyone's contribution in a reasonable manner. Trust me, I have some credibility. Alright, I hope for a pleasant partnership. Klein reached out his right hand and shook it. It wasn't easy for a middle-aged gentleman in his 40s or 50s to maintain such a warmth in Backland late autumn. This added to Klein's suspicion that Isengard was a beyonder. Likewise, Isengard smiled and nodded. At that moment, Klein realized he was being somewhat impolite and said, "Sorry, I forgot to invite you in. Let's talk about this over some coffee and tea." "Thank you for the offer. I've already arranged for the detectives to come to my house at 9 in the morning to discuss the case. My assistant is waiting for them there." Isengard took out a marvel of mechanical beauty, a silver pocket watch with complicated engravings, and opened it, and said, "We need to head over there to meet them. Will that be a problem?" "Not at all. Let me use the bathroom first and get a change of clothes." At this moment, Klein suddenly rediscovered the feeling of being a Nighthawk again, striking evil down, maintaining order and protecting the people. In the bathroom, Klein went above the grey fog to receive an acceptable answer through divination. He quickly returned to the real world, put on his coat and hat, took his cane and followed Isengard into a rental carriage where he sat beside him. What do you think, Isengard's? Yeah, I think, Isengard, my guess is that, so I made the guess that Isengard is the same person as the Eye of Wisdom from the Beyonder, things. But given that I haven't seen him do anything like extraordinary physically, all we have seen is that he's like really intelligent. So that makes me think he is, where is it? So that makes me think he is the Reader Pathway, a Sequence 7 detective, which we know of. So I'm going to go with that one. Isengard looked at him and asked somewhat in thought, "I'm very curious how you managed to discover the Cyber's death was related to the dock union and at East Balam." "I didn't discover it. It's a misunderstanding." Klein considered the question seriously to fabricate a lie. "Ooh, the bum pathway?" "Exactly, yeah. If he is a certified loser for sure, okay? Plus, I also, my second reason was the first time we ever met Isengard, I don't know if anyone would remember this. Maybe Dr. Z was here. I don't know if anyone else was. The first time we met Isengard, he met with Forz and Geo, and it said like, oh, he cost like £10 for 30 minutes, or like some crazy amount of money for 30 minutes. And then he spent like 10 minutes of that meeting reading. And that's the Reader Pathway. So if we're going with the whole, oh, there's never any coincidences in Lord of the Mysteries, then that's not a coincidence. It's a clue. Good Lord. Yes, I was so angry. Yeah, I was so mad. I was like, dude, you're scamming these people out of their money, you dick. So, yeah. I definitely remember that. Where was I? With a smile on his face, he answered vaguely. The crux of the investigation was to first determine that Cyber's death was done by a copycat. The point was all thanks to reporter Mike Joseph. After confirming this, all the clues about Cyber's routes from Golden Rose, together with the clues, I made a matching guess, so I disguised myself as a reporter to perform an investigation. Isengard nodded slightly, and without wasting any time on the subject, he went on to give a more detailed, accurate account of the serial murders than the newspaper had described. especially the latest case. Time flew by as the discussion and exchange progressed. The carriage arrived at a slightly old building in the Hillston borough. The house's lighting wasn't very good. Although there wasn't much fog in Backland today, it remained rather gloomy. Isengard Stanton led Klein through the spacious living room and into the activity room where the fireplace had been lit. Klein looked around and saw about 16 detectives who had filled every seat in the room, every seat available in the activity room. Sherlock? A surprised voice sounded. It seemed to be very familiar with Klein. Who is it? Klein looked over and realized it was Detective Stewart, who he had just bade farewell this morning. He looked carefully around and recognized Detective Kozlana, who had been protecting Adol and her assistant Lydia. What a coincidence! The corners of Klein's mouth curled up into a smile as he approached Stewart. Stewart squeezed to the side, vacating half a seat, and said with a pat, "Maybe it's not a coincidence. I've read about it in magazines before. There's a psychological phenomenon called synchronicity. Just thinking about it can make things happen." That's a joke. Kind of, but synchronicity is a real thing. We don't fully understand it yet. Like, we have a guess that like synchronicity is caused by like some momentum or some shit at like at a molecular level, that like once one thing is spinning in a certain way, it tends to affect other molecules in the similar area, causing them to have a similar spin or some shit. I don't fucking could get it completely, if I'm honest either. But we know synchronicity is a thing. We just don't understand why the fuck it happens. At this point, Isengard introduced Klein to the detectives. This is Mr. Sherlock Moriarty, an excellent detective. With an endorsement, Kozlana and the others looked at Klein with much more trust than before, believing him to be an outstanding detective. Klein nodded in agreement and said, sat down next to Stewart and casually asked, "Is your commission over?" "Yes, Adol's situation has improved, and something seemed to have happened to that bad company of his, as they're unable to threaten him any further. So we lost our jobs." Stewart laughed and said, "I was planning to rest for a few days, but Mr. Stanton summoned me, so I came to take a look. Actually, this is quite good. I don't normally get to take on strange or scary cases." Ooh, scary as in the paranormal. Compared to those, I'm more willing to take on murder cases. Similar to gravity with the quantum version? Maybe. Electrons, not molecules? Oh, maybe. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I don't have like a good grasp of it by any stretch of the imagination. I have to go. I'll probably study a little bit more. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Dr. Z can even monitor. All right, study well. Now I can tell you, I'm sure you'll do good on the exams, buddy. Don't stress too much. After the assistant had poured each of them a cup of coffee or tea and distributed the information, Isengard sat down in a reclining chair, took out his pipe, and slowly rubbed it. I don't think any of you would be familiar with this recent chain of serial murders. Do you have any thoughts on the case? Speak out so we can discuss. So we can engage in a discussion over it. Stewart, whose face was thin and had a tiny mustache, raised his hand and spoke first. "I just read through the information and discovered that the police didn't start investigating the case based on the identity of the victim. I don't think the criminal could have figured out with his eyes if the victim was once a street girl. He must have had contact with them. This is such an important clue, but the police actually missed it. God, this is unbelievable. The criminal most likely recognizes the victim with a naked eye," Klein muttered to himself. The majority of the private detectives echoed Stewart's doubts. Only Kozlana, Isengard, and a few others remained silent. This is a very important direction. Stewart, get a few friends to continue this line of investigation. When the discussion subsided, Isengard calmly gave a comment. In the time that followed, the detectives argued, raised their voice to retort, stood up at times in order to pace around and collect their thoughts. During the whole time, Klein listened without comment. When the exchange was almost over, he raised his hand and said, "I want information on the unsolved murders in the last 20 years spanning across Backland and even the entire kingdom." The entire room fell silent for a few seconds, and most of the private detectives were unable to understand Klein's intentions and thoughts. Isengard put his pipe to his nose and said, "You think this isn't the murderer's first series of crimes? You suspect him of having committed similar crimes before, even if the modus operandi is different." the mode of operation, I guess. I don't actually know for sure. It's just they seem like the two root words. It isn't a suspicion, but almost a certainty, Klein replied in his heart. This was his reasoning based on the information provided by the Sun. Since the killer was working hard to advance from 6 to 5, what did he do at Sequence 7 as a serial killer? If he hadn't committed similar crimes, it would have been difficult for him to digest the potion. Hold on, is Sequence 7 called serial murder? What the fuck? Wait, hold on. Is Sequence 7 called a serial killer, or is that just like or is that just like referring to his actions? So Sequence 7 is serial killer. Okay. How does Klein know this? Because this wasn't mentioned before. Yes, the Dexter pathway. Oh no, this is known. Sorry, I wrote 8 twice. I'm stupid. No, hold on. I wrote 9, 8, 8 instead of 987. Stupid. No, that is known. Sorry. If he hadn't committed if he hadn't committed similar crimes, it would have been difficult for him to digest the potion, even with the accumulation of time, where there is a significant chance of losing control when advancing from 7 to 6. Furthermore, there was a high risk for Beyonders in the Abyss pathway to lose control. Hence, Klein decided that regardless of whether the murderer knew the acting method or not, he must have done murders as his time as a Sequence 7 for various reasons. This way, even if the digesting of the Sequence 7 wouldn't take years, together with 6, 20 years would have been quite a reasonable limit. After all, if one was too old, regardless of whether one had digested the potion or not, advancing would be too dangerous. As the ritual progressed, the person became increasingly insane, leaving behind obvious clues. At the current stage, the murderer is calm and has the ability to interfere with divination and tracking. There were almost no loopholes, but it might not have been the same during his early days of inexperience. When he first completed a serial murder case, there was a high chance he wasn't that cautious. This was the follow-up which would provide the best clue. Many thoughts flashed past Klein's mind, but he nodded. The criminal's modus operandi doesn't make him seem like a rookie. I have reason to believe that he's done such cases in the past. By combining the past and the present, we are more likely to have a grasp of the crux of the problem. Hearing his answer, the detective whispered to each other in discussion. After having a brief silence from Isengard, he sincerely praised a brilliant idea. In the evening, Klein sat down on a reclining chair in his activity room, warmed by the fireplace. He picked up the information that Isengard's assistant had just delivered. As soon as his idea received praise from the great detective in the morning, Kazlana immediately claimed that she needed the same piece of information. Stewart had murmured that he had believed Klein was an excellent detective, given his calmness and composure when faced with the Adol case, but he hadn't expected him to be that outstanding. At the same time, he told Klein that if he needed help, he could find him. He knew a lot of people in the detective circle in Backland. Isengard also promised to immediately contact the police to try to provide the corresponding information to the detectives who needed it before nightfall. He truly was trustworthy. Devil, how's it going, man? At the next Tarot Club meeting, I'll have to ask Little Sun through the world about the previous characteristics of Sequence 6 and what powers they have. I didn't plan on involving myself, so I'd forgotten to gather the corresponding amount of information. However, since I've decided to help, it's best to be prepared. At the very least, I would know what's happening when danger rears its head. Klein thought for a few seconds, then he lowered his head and under the lights of the gas lamp began to look through the unsolved serial murders in the last 20 years of the Lone Kingdom. Red, we finally Devil, we finally have someone to keep Unhinged in check. Aha, Unhinged. Your arch nemesis is here. There were fewer than expected. There were a total of 4 in Backland and 5 in other cities, a total of 9. Although this world doesn't have the concept of DNA yet and lacks many necessary detective skills, with the impetus of the Emperor, there's already a rudimentary form of fingerprint investigation. The Devil banned Unhinged. He was spamming spoilers. No, nothing like that. Wait a little longer, making pasta. Oh, Devil, you can't tell Unhinged that. No. Furthermore, there's mediumship, divination, dream entry, and other Beyonder methods. The police usually wouldn't seek out Beyonder teams from 3 major churches for individual murder cases that don't involve the nobles, the rich, or officials. However, a serial killer has very negative repercussions. It easily causes panic, so they'll definitely make the wisest choice. This way, they'll only have a few unsolved serial murders in the past 20 years. That is reasonable and logical. Klein quickly gained their reasoning. It's okay, I have 5 alt accounts. He gathered his thoughts and began flipping through the cases, one after another. In the absence of sufficient information to perform a divination, he had initially selected 2 serial killings that might be related to the current one and intended to use them as an initial starting point. One case occurred 4 years ago. There were 5 victims, all single prostitutes with a child. They had been mistreated before they died, but lacked any evidence of sexual intercourse. Devil IP ban Unhinged. The police in charge of the case at the time thought that the murderers must have known the women, or else it would have been impossible to precisely select individuals with a child. They had identified the suspects from the people who lived nearby and the regular customers of several of the women, but in the end, they failed to find the real murderer. Although the dossier does make a brief note, Klein could clearly tell that they had asked for help of Beyonders from the 3 main churches. Unfortunately, they were still unable to crack the case. That could be. Try to guess who my alt is. They've shown up here before. Dr. Z. With the Beyonder powers of the Abyss, being able to tell signs that a woman had once been a degenerate doesn't go above the law of mysticism. Likewise, for recognizing an individual as a prostitute, but it doesn't make sense. Oh my god, I'm sleepy. But it wouldn't make sense that they would know the women were single with only 1 child. The police were right. What was the problem? The real murderer was like me, able to resist dreams, divination, mediumship, and evade the investigation from mid-sequence Nighthawks and Punishers? It's possible, although the church doesn't lack knowledge about the serial killers, the murderer must have had some kind of fortuitous encounters. Klein picked out some problems from his own standpoint. I'm analyzing them as being as being part of their kind. I really didn't fail to live up to the name of Moriarty. He gave himself a self-deprecating comment, and decided the first would still be the 4. The first target would still be 4 from Backland. Yes, I'll get Mr. Stan to confirm the suspect's current address and condition through the police. I'll ask Stuart to get others to help. That way, I won't appear directly so as to avoid encountering any official Beyonders. After the situation is clarified, I can gather the suspect's belongings and move them above the grey fog to make mystical deductions. Nah, Dr. Z is too smart to be unhinged. The second case had taken place 11 years ago. 4 cases of dismembered corpses had happened in succession. Originally, these cases were considered as isolated cases until the police began having suspicions over the way the bodies were handled. Only then was it confirmed to be a case of serial murders. The victims were men and women who worked till late at night before they returned home. They were robbed, and they had no common connection between them. I feel like I've yawned 47 times in the past 3 minutes. What the fuck is happening to me? Due to the delay, time which was very valuable when the crime was committed, the case had failed to produce any clues pointing to a suspect. This is a problem caused by mishandling the case. If they had quickly received the help of a spirit medium, the wraith of the deceased might have even gathered around the murderer. Of course, it's also possible that the wraith can be killed by the murderer, just like this case. There's probably only ashes of the victims left. It would be hard to do any investigation through them. Klein rubbed his temples, and when he saw that it was evening, he stopped considering the case and got up from his chair to leave Minsk Street. He had something to do that night. What the fuck is he doing? He wanted to go to the area of the South Bridge, to the Harvest Church, to find Bishop Utravsky in a bid to attain the apothecary formula. He had already divined to see if it was dangerous or not. I literally once yawned 5 times in 90 seconds. Yeah, this is what I feel like right now. He could get injured. To Klein, having an apothecary as a subordinate was extremely helpful. He could get injured or fall sick. He could encounter enemies who could harm him, and an apothecary who he could find at any moment would be someone he could rely on. Making a detour to the East Borough, Klein disguised himself and took the steam metro to cross the Tussock River and arrive at the district south of the bridge. Along the way, the darkness of the metro along the metro line, the corresponding gas lamps formed an unforgettable scene. While on the public carriage, Klein came to the Rose Street and found the tiny Harvest Church, which was easily recognizable. The Golden Cathedral had a more striking steeple and a sacred emblem of life engraved on the outer wall. It was a baby surrounded by symbols of wheat flour and spring water. It stood out from the surrounding buildings. At that moment, the cathedral's lights were dim, and there wasn't a single devotee inside. Klein snuck in from the side, carefully dabbing his face with paint rather than relying solely on his ability to create illusions. In the hall of the cathedral, rows and pews were arranged neatly. Right at the top, at the front, there was a large sacred emblem of life. Candles were lit on both sides of it. A tall man in his 40s or 50s wearing a brown clergyman attire sat in the front pew. Just by sitting there, he was like a small mountain, giving off an extremely oppressive vibe. What the fuck? The man wore a bishop's bonnet, and his eyebrows were light and thin. There were obvious wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. Hold on, I gotta change the music. We're at boss music now. I will say, having headphones in does help me notice exactly when boss music kicks in, because like my adrenaline starts pumping immediately. Whereas when I just have it not without headphones, I wouldn't even notice it until someone would be like, "Hey, we've been playing boss music for the past 20 minutes while we're dealing with Susie. Can we put something else on, please?" Suddenly, he opened his eyes, revealing a patch of light blueness. The Mother Earth's church will not reject anyone. Why don't you take the main entrance? The 40 to 50-year-old man didn't raise his head as he spoke in a low and gentle voice. Are you Bishop Utravsky? Klein walked out of the shadows. I prefer to be called Father. Father Utravsky. All right, my lord. Klein deliberately laughed. Your name and your height tell me that you're from Fasak. Why do you believe in Mother Earth? I was born along the coasts of Midsea Shire, Indaw. I was a man who was passionate about combat and killing. Indaw? He really is from the Fasak Empire, Klein nodded. Midsea Shire was the natural border between Lone Intis and Fasak. The east coast belonged to Lone. Most of the west coast belonged to Intis. The north was the famous port city of the Fasak Empire, such as Indaw. Bruh, I just realized I only have pen. Get fucked, devil. In addition, the Midsea Shire spread to the northeast, penetrating through the Fasak Empire's territory and connecting with the North Sea. There were many islands in that part of the sea that were habitats for polar bears and sea lions. Hunting polar bears and sea lions was a traditional festival for the citizens of Fasak. I committed a serious crime and fled to the Sonia Sea, where I became a ruthless pirate. I was lucky enough to meet a missionary of the Earth Mother before I fell to the true hell of the soul. After that day, I understood the value of life, understood the charm of all living beings, and gained the joy that stemmed purely from life itself. I swore in front of the Earth Mother's sacred emblem that I would spread her faith in other countries to make up for my bloody past. Thus, here I am. I came here. Hold on, I just gotta open my window. It's hot as shit in here. Unhinged. If your alt is Ramiro, then that means you're Indian. So take that with so you got to be real careful. Compromise, devil, compromise. You just need to decrease the choosing time a little, and it will only taste 25% different. Jesus Christ! Is this a fucking mountain? What is this? Amidst his calm and emotional voice, Bishop Utravsky stood up. He was over 2.2 meters tall, and his build was sturdy. His robes were tight, and he looked like a giant from legend who appeared on the northern continent. A real giant is 3 to 5 meters tall with a single vertical eye. The citizens of the Fesak Empire are generally tall. It's no wonder that they've always claimed to be the remnants of giants, believing that they have the blood of giants. "What are you doing here?" the bishop asked. "I heard you have a request and that the reward is the apothecary formula." Klein, who had donned a disguise, went straight to the point. The bishop fell silent for a few seconds before saying, "Yes. Although I'm not sure where you learned this, it's true. Then, what is the task?" Utravsky sized him up and said, "I don't think you can fulfill my request." "Perhaps I can. I need to know the details before I can make an evaluation." The bishop stood there for like a giant pillar. After a few seconds, he said, "My request is, kill me." What the fuck? What? Kill you? It was the first time Klein had heard of such a request. At that moment, he didn't know how to respond to such a task. Is it 3? Okay. Suicidal father, yes, sir. Jesus. Bishop Utravsky opened his eyes and looked at Klein. Kill the old me. Father, can you not have such long pauses when you're talking? Even in the legends and myths, no one can return to the past. I'm afraid this task of yours can only be accomplished by the 7 gods. No, I mean kill the past me which has never died, as it resided in the depths of my heart. Seeing that Klein was still confused, the bishop said, "The former me who used to love killing and fighting didn't die completely because of my contrition. I can clearly sense that he's still living in my body, always wanting to regain control. I'm constantly suppressing him, hoping that he will be redeemed through mass ascetic cultivation and preaching, making him truly believe in the teachings of the Earth Mother and become one with me." "Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned." "Nah, I'd kill myself." Who would win, the strongest me of the past or the me of today? Simply put, the imprints of the past are too deep, and they fiercely conflict with your current life, resulting in a split personality. The pseudo-psychologist and keyboard warrior Klein Moretti made a preliminary judgment and said, "It's a psychological problem. What you need is a psychiatrist. I've attempted that before. Perhaps you aren't aware. There's a doctor sequence among the Beyonder pathways of the Church of the Mother Earth Apothecary, which is known as the healing pastor in ancient times. They've studied my problem and believe it's not as simple as a psychological ailment. It's also mixed with the inclination of losing control. If the past me defeats the present me, I will lose control and become a monster. Then what you need is a spectator pathway 7, psychiatrist. Your words make me believe that you found a way to solve your problem, but you lack a suitable executor, am I right?" "No, not apothecary? Mother Earth, which other sequence do they have? Hold on. I thought they had apothecary and thing, no?" Doctor pathway. Which one would that be then? Planter and Apothecary? They're both sequence 9s? Oh, that would be Planter, not Apothecary? Oh, right. Yes. Sorry. He's trying to get access to Apothecary. He's talking about Doctor is not sequence 9. Oh, I see. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Thank you, guys. Man, I'd be so fucked if I was reading this without you guys. Yes, all these years, besides preaching, I've also been searching for people and objects that can help me. In the end, with Mother Earth's blessing, I obtained a very mystical item. It is said to be the relic of an ancient dragon. Seeing that Klein wasn't scared away, Utrovsky answered with some hope. It allows for the wielder to enter the deepest part of the target's soul. Or, in other words, the bottom of the target's dreamland. There, a corresponding scene will be materialized. That way, you can see the past me, and then through combat, eliminate him. In that special state, once he is truly dead, he will never appear again. I was not going to tell you which, but I just wanted to clarify it's not sequence 9. Yeah, no, you're good. It's fine. No, you're good, Dr. Z, you're good. No, I believe you. You're fine. Don't worry. Again, I'm not as strict as Milos and Romero here. Okay. As expected of the mysterious world, there's actually a method to treat someone with split personalities. What restrictions are there, or what harm will it cause to the holder? Why do you think I'm incapable of completing the task? Once you use that mystical item, although the owner will remain unconscious, there are many layers to the soul or dreamland. The past me will be able to make full use of this point to deceive you, or conversely, they can even kill you. And after a set period of time, 5 minutes, that item will make you completely lose consciousness, and your mind will never be able to return to your body and become its sacrifice. In this way, you will become a vegetable. In addition, as a result of the scene's materialization, if you're killed in the deepest part of your heart, or to put it a different way, the lowest part of the dreamland, similar side effects will occur. It's equivalent to true death. I'm just a chill mod. Yeah, exactly. Believe me, the past me is much stronger than you think. So that's how it is. However, the issue isn't a problem for me. I'm someone who can stay awake and rational during spirit channeling and dreams. Even if that mystical item wants to make me lose control, there's no need for me to worry. As long as there's room for struggle, I can take 4 steps counterclockwise, chant my honorific name, and head above the grey fog. The problem is, how strong is the past you? What are my chances of beating him? After a while, Klein thought and said, "How strong were you, Father Utrovsky? I don't think I would definitely lose." I was a warrior. I had already reached sequence 6 of my Beyonder pathway, becoming a Dawn Paladin. Hold on. So, sequence 6 of the warrior pathway is Dawn Paladin. Oh, yes. Okay, this is known. Okay, no problem. I know all the way up to sequence 4 for that pathway. So that was not any new information. God, fuck, I hate this place. Easy, how's it going, man? Yes, I already have it. There's too many. I don't know. Easy, I hear you're planning to complete volume 2 in the next little bit. Hold on, where am I? So, he's not a Beyonder of the Planter pathway. He himself said that he had committed a crime and became a pirate after being converted by the being converted by the Church of Earth Mother. Sequence 6, yeah. It's not like I can't win. The Magician is a kind of Beyonder that's much stronger if they make preparations. Also, due to my uniqueness, the deepest part of my heart, or the lowest part of my dreamland, can be considered my home ground. Will that mystical item weaken him? Yes, but it's still his main region of activity, so the weakening wouldn't be too great. At most, it would be like he had already fought an intense battle. Well, that just raises my chances. Yeah, within a week or so? Before I wind down and play Oblivion? Ah, nice. I think I'm at the tail end. I think, not sure. What are you at, Easy? Like, what chapter are you on currently? Well, he just said he's doing a 24-hour stream. Well, then he can fucking have that, dude. I can't do 24-hour streams. I'm like an hour in and I'm so sleepy. Fuck. I want to go to bed right now. Holy shit. I'm not going to tell you where it ends because for whatever reason they're hiding it from you, but I know where it ends, so I'm curious how much more you have to go. Just like real combat, effective attacks are always effective. Illusions will always remain illusions, and one thing must be noted, he can bring you into other levels of the dreamland at any time, creating an illusion where it's hard to determine whether it's reality or an illusion. So you have to be at least a sequence 6 or some special sequence 7 to be able to complete this mission, and the risk is nothing trivial. If I didn't swear on a holy artifact of the Mother Earth that I wouldn't ask the church for help before my mission succeeds, things wouldn't be so difficult. So that's how it is. I'm not afraid of a dream. You know the chapter number? Yes, I know the chapter number. Someone told me a while back, and I just kind of remember it. Plus, I don't consider stuff like that spoilers. Like, I think it's nutsy to say like, 782 is where Volume 6 ends. Oh wow, that's a spoiler. What information does that give me? I don't understand. Where the fuck was I? Final question. Are there any points to take note of when fighting a Dawn Paladin? This is something that requires absolute secrecy for Beyonders. However, as long as you participate in enough battles, others would often be able to conclude certain traits. Besides, the more details you know, the higher the chances of success, right? Yes, Klein nodded. In a reminiscent tone, Bishop Utrovsky said, a Dawn Paladin possesses a power akin to that of a giant, enabling the area within a 40 to 50 meter radius to be basked in the light of dawn. Such light can not only dispel illusions, it also has a special ability to exercise wraiths and specters, and it can weaken evil spirits. Well, there goes your fucking illusion powers, mate. They can conjure dawn armor around their bodies, which would be equivalent to a specially forged full-body armor that doesn't weigh anything or inhibit their motion in any way. If destroyed, recovery would require a certain amount of time. He can also conjure different weapons. The strongest weapon would be a two-handed great sword. It's often called the Sword of Dawn. Oh, the Sword of Dawn. That's the name of I can't remember. That's the name of a really strong sword in Game of Thrones. It was the fucking one of the Targaryen warriors. I can't remember. The guy who was said to be the best swordsman in all the 7 kingdoms. I can't remember his fucking name. Was said to wield the Sword of Dawn. The guy that was killed by, in the show at least, killed kind of shittily by oh my god, what the fuck is Jon Snow's dad's name? Stark. Oh, what's his name? Oh fuck, I can't remember. Whatever, it's fine. It's sharp, solid, and each strike has a purification effect. Apart from that, Dawn Paladins have a type of Beyonder powers to create a hurricane of light. It can directly destroy a person's body, eliminate wraiths, and damage evil spirits. There aren't a lot of Beyonder powers, but they are my natural enemy. They have a high offensive strength and defense, and they're not afraid of illusions. The only good thing is that other than facing wraiths and specters, the mysteriousness of the Dawn Paladin is very low. Clan listened as he simulated a combat situation in his mind, searching for the most reliable way to deal with the Dawn Paladin. The level of mysteriousness he was referring to implied strangeness, unpredictability, unfathomability. As you can see, Warrior Giant Pathway increases your and lets you fight with a great sword. You still think Criminal's the coolest? This is actually and that's actually a good point, Dr. Z. Like, this might be the closest thing anything has come to taking me away from the Criminal pathway. Like, again, the Criminal makes me have a devil trigger form, which is dope as fuck in my mind, but this makes me like a warrior of the sun. It makes me like maybe not of the sun, but like it gives me like how would be like a I'm trying to think of this in like Skyrim terms. What's the Ned? Yes, thank you, Ned Stark. Yes, thank you. Hmm. Ned Stark, yes, thank you. Thank you, Easy. Like, this is actually the coolest anything has come to take me away from the criminal pathway. This is dope as fuck. This might be my new number 2. Maybe even number 1. Like, I can consider this being number 1. Again, Devil Trigger is so cool to me that I think it's still first, maybe by a little. Edward Stark, yeah, technically, but he always went by Ned. But I appreciate that, Easy. Thank you. Yeah, but this is dope as fuck. I think I'm still gonna stick to Criminal as my number 1, at least for the moment. But oh, this is cool. This is dope as fuck. This is cool. Edward. Okay, Unhinged. Perhaps I can give it a try, but I will need to leave for a few minutes to confirm that you're not lying. Klein looked over and said, "No problem." Yes, I think my number 1 is yes, I think I'm on the Shepherd pathway. It's dope as fuck. Shepherd is cool because again, Shepherd just gives you everything. But again, the Criminal allows you at whatever, like sequence 6 or some shit, allow you to turn into a devil. In my mind, that's a devil trigger from DMC. That is hard as fuck. Okay, I want that. So, I mean, I will kill some people for it. Fuck it, I don't care. But Shepherd is dope too, because Shepherd you can just do everything, right? You can have like 5 abilities, and then you can switch between them as you want. So, like, no, I get it. Shepherd is a good one. However, I must remind you once again, although I don't know where your confidence stems from, do not belittle the past me. He's extremely skilled in combat. I wouldn't joke with my life. Klein pressed his hand to his chest, bowed, and stepped out of the church. Wait, it is a devil trigger. I didn't think about it that way. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I thought, like, to me, that's dope as fuck. If I was a devil but had to switch to lawyer. I was a devil but had to switch to lawyer after sending Clown and Bullseye to the Shadow Realm. Lawyer is cool too. Like that whole like you use the fucking use order or whatever. Like that shit is hard as fuck. But no, like when the shepherd, I can't remember, like Mr. A used the devil form to kill that ambassador. I was like, dude, that is so dope. I want that. I don't care what it takes. After obtaining an answer that there was certain danger, but at tolerable levels, he immediately returned to the real world, and from the beginning to end, it only took him about 10 to 20 seconds above the Great Fog. He's getting quite good at this. I'll take this commission. Bishop Utravsky stared at him intently before slowly saying, "If you succeed, not only will I give you the apothecary potion, but I'll also gift you the mystical item without much of a negative effect." Oh, I'm so glad. That sounds like a dope mystical item. Plus, I'm sure Klein can like upgrade it somehow or some shit. The thing is, all can't see is the thing is like every reader pathway can. Yeah, again, I believe you, Dr. Z, that reader might be really cool. A reader might be really useful. I'm just saying. Reader's not cool at all, okay? That's nerdy as fuck, and I ain't no nerd. So, yes, sir. All right, miss me with that. I wouldn't take apothecary either. I wouldn't take planter either. Actually, I will say I will put reader at 20 now. I will put reader at 20. I will put apothecary at 21, and I will put planter at 22. I think that's a better, in terms of just sheer aura. That's reader sounds horrible. I don't want it. No good. Bishop Utravsky didn't say another word. He took a strange candle from his concealed pocket in his brown clergyman tunic and the outer layer of the candle seemed to be wrapped in a layer of human skin, but there was also several bumps on it. Its wick was about the length of a finger segment and entirely black in color. It was covered in tiny, densely packed scales-like patterns. Ignite it with your spirituality. Instead of following his instructions, Klein took out a matchbox, took a few of them out, and put them in his trouser pocket. He lit and blew out a few other matchsticks before throwing them at various corners of the cathedral. He then adjusted the position of the paper figurines, paper notes, long strips of paper, Azek's copper whistle, and various charms. This was in preparation for the worst-case scenario that he could imagine. Interesting. So he threw all those up, but wouldn't it be handy to have those in the real? Well, I guess the physical him's not going out there, but the Kim Dokcha is groaning right now. Oh, I guess Kim Dokcha is kind of like the reader, eh? But he is kind of cool. Fuck. Oh, I hate that. Fuck. I actually like Kim. Shit. That's a good point. After all this was done, Klein snapped his fingers, causing a blue-colored flame of his spirituality to appear. He held the flame close to the top of the tiny candle and watched the black wick light up. Nothing seemed to change, but Klein was acutely aware that he had entered the world of the mind. Directly in front of him, he saw Bishop Utravsky standing in his original spot. His sturdy body was more than 2.2 meters tall, giving off a sense of oppression. The repentant bishop looked at him, his facial muscles contorting. Following that, his expression became abnormally ferocious. Soon after, Klein discovered that the surrounding light and shadows were rapidly transforming, and it felt like he was experiencing a real intense battle. Okay, listen. Anyone who has to say, like, I actually like him, but, like, no homo, or, like, you have to say no homo after everything regarding a boy, I think you might... I think it might be time to ask yourself some questions. Why are you so uncertain? Okay, why are you so scared? Like I don't feel the need to say it every time. What, you think I kiss my boys goodnight and then I go no homo? No, excuse me. At the end of the battle, Bishop Utravsky fell heavily to the ground. His breathless body was had blood flowing profusely. Klein's mouth twitched as he saw the scene before him with a clear mind. He silently evaluated. What a brilliant performance, but I know this was in a dream. We didn't even get to see the fight? This sucks. Depends on if you have your socks on. Good point. The only thing that matters is socks or not. Good point. Good point. Networking on web novel author Discord is starting to pay its dividends for me. For what? What are you doing? What are you getting? Okay. Well, glad to know that this is working relatively decently. Like my laptop is running, or even the fans aren't on. Yeah, it's running just fine. I would kiss my homies to prove I'm straight. Exactly. Devil is... Unhinged is thinking. This man's got it. Oh man, if I'm taking Unhinged side, we're really fucked, aren't you? Lanovis wouldn't like it though. Wearing socks in bed is criminal. You should reflect on yourself. Who said anything about a bed, bro? I've kissed multiple homies on the lips. When Klein looked down again, he could no longer see the strange candle wrapped in a human skin. Instead, a faint, slightly sweet scent kept lingering around his nose. Ignoring the Bishop Utravsky's body that was laying down in a pool of his own blood, he took out his matchbox and lit a matchstick. The blood on the ground disappeared, and as soon as the spark was produced, the messy church hall became tidy again. The gargantuan Utravsky slowly got up and looked at Klein. It didn't actually have any effect. It's no wonder that you dared to accept the task, but this is your misfortune. I didn't actually want to kill you. As he spoke, the candlelight on both sides of the cathedral began to flicker visibly. The entire hall suddenly brightened, but it was mild and not blinding. It was as though the morning sun had just come in. The invisible spirit quickly vanished, and Klein, without a word, threw the match, flexed his cheeks, and simulated a sound. Bang! An invisible air bullet shattered and struck the bishop heavily in his chest, producing a resounding sound. However, the giant bishop at some point had equipped a set of metal armor that covered his entire body. It included gauntlets, breastplates, and a chest. So this... Oh, I see. So it's not actually him. Oh, so what he saw before was an illusion? Wait, did he say that he can make illusions? What the fuck? Fighting music? Yes. Give me a second. You were the one that asked us to choose the color of your... What the fuck? At that moment, a spiderweb-like crack appeared on the silver metal on his chest, but it didn't shatter completely, and it even began to slowly recover. Klein produced a series of sounds, creating 2 air bullets that followed one after another, sending them towards the chest in a bid to completely destroy the defenses in a continuous barrage of attacks. However, he saw that in Bishop Utravsky's hand was a heavy, wide greatsword, looking as if it was condensed from light. Using it, he deftly blocked the 2 air bullets, producing a sound that was almost impossible to distinguish. Utravsky took a step forward and the cathedral began to shake. At the same time, his 2-handed greatsword swept down at Klein in a gesture that looked as if it was going to shatter the building. I bet someone subscribed to you to be. Utravsky took a step forward and... before the sword arrived, the wind that it carried almost caused Klein to lose his balance. Such terrifying power. As thoughts flashed past Klein's mind, Klein deftly jumped to the side and bent over, ready to roll on the spot. The 2-handed greatsword in Utravsky's hand smashed into the ground, shattering the stone slabs and causing cracks to spread in all directions. He dragged the greatsword along the ground as he switched from a vertical slash to a horizontal sweep, causing sparks to fly. How funny would it be if Ramiro started texting in 2 seconds now? After Unhinged's last message. This move was meant for opponents who love to roll. Just as Klein was about to hit the ground, the image of himself being struck by the 2-handed greatsword appeared in his mind. He quickly swung his arms and reached out with his palm. He lightly pressed and once again leaped into the air. The resulting wind blew across the dust on the ground, and the terrifying greatsword flattened the nearby pews. However, before Klein could counterattack, the giant bishop chained his attacks without any pause. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Utravsky seemed to possess robust stamina. His unceasing storm-like attacks lasted for dozens of seconds. This is what it feels like to face like Melania. Like she just keeps fucking attacking. Like, when am I supposed to hit this bitch? He used the simplest of sword techniques, slashing vertical, diagonally, sweeping horizontally, thrusting forward, bashing forward to demonstrate what the most effective and reasonable way to deal damage was, and the range of the 2-handed greatsword reached a terrifying extent. Klein jumped and rolled and ran. Sorry, I'm not sure if you guys can hear my fucking Discord pings, but I'm gonna turn that off really quickly because that would annoy the shit out of me. There we go. Klein jumped, rolled, and ran. He didn't have the opportunity to use his powers. It appeared rather pathetic. If it wasn't for the matches that he had thrown ahead of time in different corners, and how the candles on both sides of the altar had yet to be extinguished, allowing him to flash, he probably would have been slain by his enemy, as expected of a Beyonder that's adept at combat. No mistakes, no weaknesses. But Klein didn't panic. Amidst his rolling and dodging, he was constantly looking for flaws that the enemy had, waiting for his attack to reach a moderate stage. Finally, he discovered a problem with Utravsky's sword techniques. The two-handed greatsword was too long and too large. It had an obvious flaw in close combat. With this thought flashing past his mind, Klein took advantage of the greatsword's vertical slash to roll to the left. Then, with a push of the palm, he quickly rolled to the spot between Utravsky's legs. As a half-giant who was over 2.2 meters tall, Utravsky would have legs spread out from simply standing. His silver crotch was clearly visible. What is this man planning to do? Bro ruined WrestleMania? What did The Rock say? What happened? As soon as he rolled over, Klein's left hand reached into his pocket, pulled out a long piece of paper, and turned it into a sharp and hard cane. He then inserted it into the gap at the side of the enemy's crotch, stabbed it into the body of the giant bishop. This would be a fatal blow. However, at this moment his heart trembled. The image of a great sword stabbing down as boundless light formed a terrifying storm, engulfing his entire body, appeared in his mind. A trap. Utravsky's trap. Klein didn't hesitate. He pressed down his right hand, jumped forward through the gaps of his legs, and arrived behind him. He started and then didn't show up. Oh no. Okay, hear me out. Ramiro just came. Do you guys remember Unhinged last message? And I kind of like the old camera angle more. Hey Bullseye, don't worry. This is not going to be the normal camera angle or anything. This is just I was doing a setup for when I'm gonna be visiting my granddad. This is what it's gonna look like. I just wanted to get it set up and try it once. I know it's not as perfect and stuff, and I can't fiddle around with it quite as much, but it's decent enough, I think. So this will be fine. I'm confused. Only trap I'm interested in is Eridas. What the fuck? Eridas, just block him or like ignore him, whatever. I don't know. Notamon. How's it going? I'm confused. What's happening? By the time he finished this set of motions, Utravsky was holding the hilt of his sword with both hands, bending his wrist and lifting the sword up to thrust straight down into the stone slab in front of him. With a cracking sound, rays of light surged out of the sword's body like the first rays of dawn. They turned into a hurricane and swept across the surroundings. Without a sound, the stone slab disappeared from where Klein had been, and the earth beneath it became nearly 10 meters thinner. The silver armor on the legs and crotch was also damaged, shattering inch by inch and revealing skin. This trap was to sustain damage in order for the death of the enemy. At that moment, Klein, who had leapt behind Bishop Utravsky, finally found an opportunity to counterattack. He twisted his body, puffed out his cheeks, and simulated gun sounds at the back of the enemy's head. 2 air bullets hit the back of his head in quick succession, shattering the metal silver metal in that area, and then splitting it in 2 pieces, exposing a completely unprotected area. Klein was about to give him a fatal blow, then Utravsky straightened up, twisted his waist, and violently swept the two-handed great sword. The speed was so fast and the attack so ferocious that Klein seemed to be unable to dodge. However, he pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket and placed it in front of his body. The collision between the sword and the piece of paper produced a sound of metal being struck. The crisp sound of metal striking against metal filled the entire cathedral. Klein was sent flying like a tennis ball, and the paper in his hand was torn apart, leaving behind only a tiny piece in between his fingers. I must also be an unhinged alt. Is an Iranian girl and not a US military man? Yeah. Exactly. Maybe I too am an unhinged alt. Exactly, yeah. We all are. The great sword sliced through the sorry, hold on. In midair, he was immediately faced with a violent and swift pursuit of Utravsky. The situation was precarious. However, he didn't panic in the slightest and only shook his wrist. A tiny piece of paper flew up and a spark rapidly expanded, completely enveloping Klein. The great sword sliced through the ball of fire, but it didn't cause any damage, only causing a small spark. At the candle on the right of the side of the cathedral, a faint yellow flame spread out, forming a figure whose face was painted with oil paint. Klein reappeared and pulled out another long strip of paper from his pocket. With a flick of his wrist, the paper turned into a sturdy whip. The surface of the whip was burning with scarlet flames. Hold on, he has Flame Whip? How? I also know something about Smurf accounts. Yes. Klein lashed out at the giant bishop from a distance. However, this weapon quickly disintegrated under the attack of the two-handed greatsword. That was precisely Klein's goal. With the snap of his fingers, he sent streaks of fire flaring up from the ground, blocking Utravsky and spreading his and burning his unprotected legs. The Dawn armor's recovery was rather slow. As the tongues of fire leaped upwards, his legs were charred black and the crimson color was seeping up his leg. But this didn't affect his ability. He let out a low growl, and like a steam train that had accelerated to its highest speed, he charged through the flame appearing in front of Klein. His speed was unbelievable. Soon after, the two-handed greatsword in Utravsky's hand cracked, turning into spots of light that swept in all directions. Almost instantly, Klein fell into a situation of certain death. The matches he kept on him were ignited and the intense flame engulfed him. However, this isn't as fast as the hurricane of light. Just as the scarlet red flame appeared, it was immediately engulfed. Klein's body was torn asunder and reduced to shred. They ended up losing their thickness and turned into bits of paper. Behind Utravsky, a column of scarlet red flames appeared, and Klein stepped out. He took out a matchbox from his other pocket and threw it at the enemy, as if to ignite all the remaining matches in one go, through the restraint of the small space and a reliable explosion. The matchbox was aimed at Utravsky's lower body, which no longer had any protection. Klein raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. At the same time, the bishop jumped on his back, bent his knees, and withdrew his legs. Accompanied by the snap of his fingers was an unaffected matchbox, but a loud bang. It was an air bullet that accurately tore open the back of Utravsky's head, which lacked any protection. It was a lethal weapon that had been prepared in advance. His skull split open, and with great difficulty, Utravsky turned his head and said, "You." The matchbox that was riddled with holes caused by the hurricane of light fell to the ground. However, it remained unignited. Klein laughed and replied, I've never said that snapping my fingers could only be used to control the flames and not shoot air bullets. Look." He snapped his fingers repeatedly, allowing for air bullets to hit one after another at Utravsky's head, shattering his helmet and cracking his head. Utravsky stopped breathing and fell heavily to the ground, shaking the cathedral hall. Klein turned and snapped his fingers. The box of matches on the ground exploded, transforming into a scarlet flame that buried Utravsky's gigantic body. Klein didn't attempt to sense the existence of the candle, but instead he relied on his own clarity of mind to force himself out of the lowest level of his mind. Behind him, the corpse was wrapped in scarlet flames as the world around him disintegrated, bit by bit. Everyone is an easy alt meant to slow whiz down. Mission complete, yeah. That was a good fight. What the fuck? Choosing 1 out of 2. What is he choosing? By the way, so how is this kind of like format and outlook and everything, or overlay and everything? Again, the camera, I can't do much without. Oh, fuck! That was so stupid. I pushed it away. What an idiot. How is this overlay and everything? Like, again, I can't do much about the camera. I know someone mentioned that like they prefer the other camera. That one's still going to be the main one when I'm home and stuff. But like when I'm just going for my camera. The camera is my phone being used as a thing, so I don't have too much. Well, theoretically I could put it on the side, but then it gets all fucked because then I don't have any way to change the aspect ratio and shit. It's just it's fucked. Yeah, so I got some basic stuff figured out. I don't have everything yet, but I have like the basic stuff. I have that one for drawing, I have this one, and I have this. It's like I have some stuff set up. Said it before, but I watch in 240, so it really doesn't matter. Since we're all the same person, you guys should read my novel and rate it 5 stars. It's only natural. Yeah, of course, Devil. Toss it in the Discord, man. I'd be happy to read it and give you some feedback. Of course, rate it 10 out of 10. Yeah, just drop it in the Discord, man. I don't mind at all. The illusory feeling passed, and Klein saw the strange candle in his hand again, along with the black wick and palish white flame. The damage of the Dawn Paladin, the shattered ground, broken pews, and sliced candles had been restored to their pre-battle state. It was hard to tell where they had been damaged. At some point, Bishop Utravsky, who had been standing opposite him, had taken a seat in the front pew, his back bent forward and his head buried deep in his hands. His hands were pressed to his temples. Gio, I don't believe we've seen you here before. Thanks for popping by. How you doing? Sweat trickled down his face and spread out from his feet. The ground was completely wet. How much was this motherfucker sweating? When he sensed the strange candle had been extinguished, he shuddered and raised his head to meet Klein. His slightly turbid eyes were filled with tears, and his wrinkled face was streaked with tears. However, his eyes were filled with emotion, joy, and clarity. If it was said that this giant bishop previously appeared tall and heavy, then all that was left of him now was the heaviness of his body, but without the heaviness of spirit. At this moment, Klein felt like he was looking at a newborn baby. Those tears were proof of life. You're much better than I expected. No, this is because I gained sufficient understanding in advance and made the appropriate preparations. As for the past you, not only were you unsure of your opponent's strength, but also greatly weakened. If I were to fight you in the real world, I would be considering how to escape. A prepared magician and an unprepared magician are very different concepts, he added. I'm definitely not Ramiro's alt. Just wanted to say I love Ramiro. How many fucking... Do all of you have alts? What is this? Yes, Geo, so I would love to get your input. Is Ramiro Indian, and how Indian is he on a scale of Indian to hyper Indian? Where does he land on that scale? I'm really curious. Yeah, super interested in that feedback. Bishop Utravsky didn't dwell on the problem. He said, "Thank you, my friend. According to our agreement, I'll give you the apothecary formula and an additional mystical item." As he spoke, from his pocket he took out what seemed to be a combination of needle, tube, and container. You have 2 choices. This is one of the 2 choices you have. When I got it, I didn't know its name, and I never thought about naming it either. You're able to use it to draw out a tube of your own blood. At a critical moment, you can transfuse it back to you. That way your fatigue will disappear, and your ailments and injuries will be alleviated. Your strength, speed, and balance and other attributes will be greatly enhanced. Ramiro is very non-Indian. In fact, he does not even want to associate with that question. Oh, sorry. Let me change the music really quick. Oh, good lord. What about its limitation and latent dangers? Klein asked. Utravsky looked at the mysterious pattern on the needle and said, "After drawing out a tube of your blood, you'll be weakened for a full 12 hours, and during those 12 hours, transfusing the blood back into you wouldn't have any effect. Of course, the specific time isn't that precise. It increases or decreases according to your body's condition. In addition, it's best not to use it too often, not more than once a week. Otherwise, not only will the transfusion bring you power, it will also temporarily make you lose your rationality, and the short period when you have your blood drawn and turn weak will become your characteristic. In addition to these, it's also a problem. If you carry it around for more than half an hour, you'll become a little neurotic. That's so stupid. If I could just carry it around without any effects, that actually seems like a great thing, but if I carry it around for more than a half hour, I become neurotic? That's stupid. My phone accidentally switched to negative mode and back in the back of your chair made it look like you had giant ears. Yes. Just Mickey Mouse sized ears. Yeah, love that. From the mornings next stream we'll be back to regular overlay and everything, but good to know that this works relatively good. He frowned and was rather worried about the negative effects. Regardless of whether it was a temporary loss of rationality, a 12-hour period of weakness, or a change in his mental state, these were all hidden dangers that didn't seem too problematic. But after seeing rampagers and hearing the ravings of an evil god, Klein believed that Beyonder's mental state was very important. If one's mental state remained at a nadir? What is a nadir? By the way, it just came back. Who is this you guys? It seems cool. Yeah. What is nadir? I'm not sure. I don't even know if that's popping up on the overlay for you. The lowest point in the fortunes of a person or organization. Ah, interesting. Didn't know that. Look at it. We learned another new word. Your hidden admirer. Yes, that's actually Romero's girlfriend. Or if there were frequent anomalies, it would cause the phenomenon of losing control to happen. This was the same level, even if a Beyonder had grasped the acting method. What's the second choice? Bishop Utravsky took out a simple brass key from his other pocket and smiled. This is a master key. It can help you open any lock that doesn't contain mystical powers, as well as a number of locks that are augmented with Beyonder powers. And in a place without locks or doors, it can open a passageway that doesn't belong to reality. The premise is that there are no restrictions by Beyonder powers and the barriers aren't too thick. Its spirituality is completely restrained. When it's not being used, Beyonders cannot see any difference between it and a normal key. That is amazing! Take that! What the fuck? Klein never has to worry about money anymore. Just break into Audrey's house, steal a shit ton of money, and then just leave. What? Excuse me? Yeah, you don't even worry about money anymore. Just break into a bank vault. Who even gives a fuck? This is back when they actually had gold and money in banks and shit instead of just not having any money and all of it being in machines and shit. I say as someone who used to work at a bank for a long time. Utravsky stood up again, leaving Klein no choice but to look up. The giant bishop increased his pace and came to the wall at the side of the cathedral and pressed the master key against the brick. He twisted gently, and his entire body seemed to sink into water as ripples were produced. He went through the wall and arrived outside. In the same way, Utravsky returned into the cathedral and entered Klein's line of sight. Have you decided on the item? What are the latent dangers of the master key? Utravsky smiled and said, the person carrying it around will occasionally get lost. According to what someone told me, one gets lost at random. I'm a seer with spiritual intuition. I want the master key. He didn't want his mental state to be affected, and he didn't want to accumulate the risk of losing control. What a pity. What I want the most is that weird candle. It's akin to the deepest part of a soul and the lowest part of a dreamland. That's equivalent to my home ground, he sighed in his heart. The bank robbery isn't the meta anymore? Yeah, exactly. No. Since like the fucking Wild West days... Since the Wild West days, it's not worth robbing a bank anymore. You have to be like unbelievably stupid to do that. Like robbing banks is like the dumbest thing to do. Aside from the fact that you always get caught, obviously. Do Sri Lankan's banks even have any money? From my understanding, the biggest almost financial crime of all time was occurred on a Sri Lankan bank, I believe. Or maybe it was Bangladesh. I can't remember. It was like $1 billion. Biggest bank heist failed. What was that? It was Bangladesh. Sorry, not Sri Lanka. It was Bangladesh. Sorry. Sri Lankan banks I hate them. I only like one Sri Lankan bank. You can still use and check their phone for bank pass strat. Okay, I'm not reading that, Yark. I'm not reading that. Okay. It was probably my uncle. Devil loves his uncle, man. The only people who be robbing banks nowadays are in movies. That's not true. Thankfully the bank I worked at never got robbed, but there was another bank in the community that did get robbed in my tenure. I'm saying robbed because nowadays most robberies don't happen like people come in like guns blazing with like assault rifles or whatever. It's literally like a note passer who's like, give me money, I have gun, and he goes to a teller and the teller just gives him like a couple $100 and the guy leaves. So technically robbery, but like kind of the most loser way to go about doing that, and then you get caught. Like, imagine going to jail for for robbing a bank for $500, dude. What an idiot. All right, the bishop handed the simple brass key to Klein and took back the strange candle. While Klein was examining the item, the bishop said, "The apothecary formula is in that room. I'll go get it. Wait here a while." Klein nodded in response, taking advantage of the moment. Bishop Utrovsky's figure disappeared. He took out a penny and divined if he'd been lying about the key. After receiving an acceptable answer, he walked to the wall in front of him where a row of candles were placed and pressed the ancient brass key against the hard wall. As he injected spirituality and turned the key, Klein's vision suddenly blurred and became clear. At that moment, there was no longer any burning candles in his vision, nor were there neat pews and straight walls. There was only withered grass and muddy land strewn with a bit of garbage. To the side, it led to where the gas street lamp stood. I really came out. Klein smiled, nodded, and turned around. Once again, used the master key to enter the cathedral hall. After more than 10 seconds, Utrovsky walked in with heavy footsteps and said, "You can get an appraisal for this. If there's a problem, you can always come find me." The giant bishop handed the apothecary formula. Main ingredient, a horn of an adult flying unicorn. Horn of an adult flying unicorn? Klein smiled and said, "I will confirm its authenticity. For example, divine it above the great fog," he added. "Bitch. Thank you, source of life. Praise you, mother of all things," Utrovsky added, I guess. A few months ago, some ransomware on big companies is very effective. That is true. A few months ago, some psycho attacked a pharmacy with a gun and asked for all the drugs, and pharmacist was like, "Oh, you should come here before 2. The safe is locked." And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. We had this, Nightwalker, how's it going, man? We had this a while back. Kind of my fault, but no one ever figured it out, so I never actually took ownership for it because I'm a fucking child. One of the mechanisms in our bank vault was kind of like acting iffy for the last little bit, for like the last week or so. The drugs are in a safe. Yeah, no shit. All narcotics are in a time-locked well, they're in a safe. At least here, they're in a time-locked safe. I don't know about Iran, obviously. But they're in a safe, yeah, for sure. You don't just keep narcotics out. That'd be stupid. But one of the... just a little bit, Nightwalker, where we've been going for 2 hours. One of the safety locks on our bank vault was it was being a little sticky, as in like when you would activate it at night, it felt like it was a little jammy. Like you'd have to give it a little oomph to not all the medicines, only narcotics. Yeah, of course. You'd have to give it a little oomph to open it, which made everyone worry that like in the morning it might not click open when you go to open the vault. So for the last like week and a half, we hadn't been arming that little bit because there was like 4 gotta go. No worries, Nightwalker. You have a great day, buddy. We'll see you later. So we hadn't been prepping it because it was like one of like 17 different shit you did with the vault, so it kind of didn't matter. Like if you skipped one, it was whatever. And then I kind of forgot that we were doing that, and I kind of prepped it and then locked the vault. And in the morning we came in and the vault's not opening. It's stuck because that mechanism wasn't allowing it to open even when it should. So everyone was like, damn, how, like, oh, we knew it was feeling a little iffy. God, we just don't know why it happened. And I was like, yeah, weirdest thing. Who could have guessed? Huh? And then I never said anything. And then it took a week and a half before we got our vault open. And what they had to do was they couldn't get the vault open because it was like a physical mechanism that was holding the vault, right? And so unless they drilled through it, they just couldn't do anything. So eventually they had to make a hole on the side of the wall to fucking punch through, go inside the vault, and then open it from the inside. Let's hope your co-workers never watch the stream. Fuck it. I already left. I don't work there anymore, so it kind of doesn't matter. I mean, they would probably get pissy at me, but it's too late now. Oh, God. That was so, like, oh, that was so funny. Which, by the way, I thought that was the funniest thing ever, that technically we had like this giant vault safe and everything, and then on the side was a fucking wall that was this thick that you just punched through and you ended up in the vault. What kind of dummy shit is that? Oh, God. Don't get me wrong. Again, bank vaults don't have any money and nowadays anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter. But it was still funny to see that. It was just the illusion of safety more than safety itself. That was funny. Klein put away the master key and the apothecary formula. After Utrovsky stopped, he said half jokingly, "Could it be that my visit was arranged by the Mother Earth?" "Why else would you be thanking her for?" the false believer chuckled. "Yes, everything is arranged by the Earth Mother. Otherwise, my request for help wouldn't have reached your ears. I wouldn't be here in Backland either, nor would I have obtained this mental terror candle." Utrovsky said with a gentle smile without any anger, complete and self-consistent believer logic. But Klein suddenly felt that it was impossible to communicate with him. He said, "Thank you for your generosity. I should leave now." He straightened his body and quickly retreated. He then rapidly disappeared from his main hall of the cathedral and the Rose Street. 10 minutes later, he saw the golden facade of the Harvest Church in another direction. He couldn't help but twitch his mouth. Oh, he literally got lost. "I can't go back without divination," he silently muttered to himself. He wanted to stubbornly rely on his own ability to overcome the fact that he was lost. But his hand, which was faster than his voice, had broken the branches of a tree and made a makeshift dowsing rod. The dowsing rod seeking could be used to help seek people as well as items and directions. This time, Klein was able to return home without incident, and he even confirmed the authenticity of the formula and the latent dangers of the master key. Next morning was Sunday. After waking up, Klein ate breakfast and took out a pen and paper. He wrote a letter to Isengard, asking him to seek help from the police to confirm the status of the few suspects and the serial murders from 4 years ago. Back then, the targets were single prostitutes with a child. My sister is an engineer, and for a while she used to go around and collect these kinds of stupid things people made. She would love to add this to her list. So if I wanted to hypothetically acquire some money from a bank in a less than illegal way, I'm not answering that, Ramiro. Message me in Discord. I will tell you the secrets. I'm not answering that publicly. God, what's the matter with you? We're not telling people to rob banks, Ramiro. You're not a child anymore. Get it together. Message me on Discord. I got no issues. I don't care. After waking up, Klein ate his breakfast, took out his pen and paper, wrote a letter to Isengard Stanton, asking him to seek help from the police to confirm the current status of a few suspects in the serial murder case from 4 years ago. After folding the letter and stuffing it in his envelope, Klein put on a black stamp, which was 1 penny in denomination. Putting on his clothes, he took out his hat and cane. He then walked out of his house to post the letter at the mailbox at the end of the street. Then he saw Mrs. Sammer and her husband, Mr. Luke, dressed to the nines. A rental carriage was stopped by the door. "Good morning. Why are you attending a banquet so early in the morning?" "It's not really a banquet. It's more like us helping out. Mary has successfully entered the National Atmospheric Pollution Council. There will be a grand ball tonight, and we want to help out in advance." "Mary's wish has been fulfilled. Impressive. Please, pass on my congratulations to Mrs. Mary. You haven't read the paper this morning, have you? All members of the National Atmospheric Council have been published. The chairman of the council is Sir Dewes Shaw, and the first secretary is Hilbert Hall." So why the fuck does that matter? I should really make friends with some lawyers and bankers. Yeah, they're handy to have. Bankers, not really. I mean, they're handy if you need like loans and shit, but you're a fucking kid, so you won't need that for a long time. Because like when I was a banker, and again, I'm using the word banker relatively generously, because again, you have to remember, I worked there from the ages of 19 to 21, part-time, because I was still in uni, right? And my limits were that I could approve loans up to $75,000 without any without anyone to look over it, without needing to send anyone, anything like that. I keep forgetting that most people here are mostly kids. Exactly, yeah. So like bankers do have like decent limits in terms of like what we can just grant on our own without needing future approval and shit, which is cool. I'm not sure if that works. I'm not sure if it's the same in in Sri Lanka, rather, obviously. But I would assume to a degree it probably is. The amounts would probably differ, but yeah. So yeah, handy. Lawyers are super handy. God forbid. Again, no one ever wants to get into legal trouble, but it's just handy to have someone you can reach out to if shit ever hits the fan. I have returned. I got a bottle of ramen tea. Nice. Yeah, unhinged would be like the opposite of a lawyer friend. He would be the person who would be getting you in trouble instead. This is great. Dr. Z, if you don't mind, and I know you shouldn't ask a lady this, but I don't give a shit. How old are you? Because you always say like everyone here is kids. How old are you, if you don't mind me? Again, you don't have to obviously tell me, but I have many lawyers in my family. Yes, very good. Sir Durshaw, Mr. Hibbert Hall, who the hell are they? I don't know them at all. Acting as though he had no doubts, Klein jokingly said, "Let's hope that they can bring blue skies and sunshine to Backlot." 25, 26? Okay, so you're not that much older than me. I'm 22. Sorry, that took a second. Jesus. Okay, so like we're nearly the same age. Okay, that's not that bad. Yes, although burning in your fireplace is everyone's freedom and a right granted by the law, blue skies and sunshine are much more desirable. We should go. Mary urgently needs our help. Stellan Sammer added, feigning a level of restraint. There may be levels of members of parliament coming to the banquet. I can imagine the grandeur of this banquet, Blind flattered politely, and as he watched them leave. As he turned his head to the post office at the end of the street, a postman in a dark green uniform arrived and delivered a letter to his mailbox. A letter for me? Klein pulled out a bunch of keys, then casually chose the one that was simple and had a brass color. The master key easily opened the letterbox. "I just need to have this key on me in the future," Klein mumbled. This was a letter from Isengard Stanton. When's your birthday? April 13. Yeah, it was not too long ago. He also looked through the old and unresolved serial murders yesterday and picked out the most suspicious ones, and after obtaining a preliminary confirmation from the police department and the present circumstance of the suspects, he had written to Klein, Kaslan, and the other private detectives that were interested in this angle to share his findings. Thank you, Dr. Z, I appreciate it. Great detective minds think alike. The letter I wrote was just now was for nothing, Klein joked. So you're basically 1 year older than me? You're 21, I guess, then? And your birthday's also somewhere in April, give or take? March? Okay, yeah. So you're 04 then, Unhinged? According to Isengard, the number of murder cases of people who had returned late had resulted in a large number of suspects, but the suspects had never been narrowed down. After so many years, it was difficult and almost hopeless to find a new clue. No, Unhinged. Physical age doesn't matter. He's mentally 15 years older than you. Born after 9/11. Let's go! Yes, you and me both. However, I am particularly thankful that I was born after 9/11, because apparently it was not a great time to have my skin tone in North American countries at that time. By the time I grew up, everything was back to normal, so... As soon as I joined, the music hits me with the feels. I love this song. It's so good. Thanks for popping by, Mikhail. One of the 4 suspects in the other case was a teenager whose mother was also a victim, a prostitute and a single mother who had him as her only child. They had both been abused by his mother, and the police's first suspect. But less than half a year after that case, he had been seriously injured in a gang firefight in the East Borough and died in the surgical room at a charity hospital. His body was cremated, with people bearing witness being buried at the cemetery. As such, it was impossible for him to be connected to the current serial killer. If he hadn't been cremated, I definitely would have dug up his grave to verify. Klein, who had come back from the dead, seriously considered the possibility of the other party coming back from the dead as well. I'm never getting the whole skin tone thing. I'm never getting the whole skin tone thing? Sorry. Of the remaining 3 suspects, one of them had moved several times in the past few years. The police had lost track of his situation and needed more time to find him. One had gone through bankruptcy and moved to the East Borough from the North Borough, while one was still running a grocery store on the same street. The killers of the serial murders are all cruel, brutal, and aggressive. Please be careful not to get too close. Act as if you're just an ordinary neighbor observing them. The information I need pertains to their recent mental state, such as whether they're irritable, whether they like to shut themselves in their rooms, rarely communicate with others, and whether they have beaten others up. So basically this was the information that he got from the Sun. After each kill, the devil would eat the victim's organs according to the ritual and stay in a bloodthirsty, manic state until a new victim appeared. After emphasizing, people here don't really care for skin tone to the point of not knowing the skin tone of themselves. The only person selling, only the person. It's not so much. Sorry. Skin tone matters here because in North America, for whatever reason, we have like the most unfucking sophisticated understanding of like nationality and shit, to the point where, as far as like people here are concerned, oh, like if you're white, you're like European. It's like, well, motherfucker, you understand, like a person from Spain and a person from Germany have like nothing in common, right? No languages, no histories. I mean, maybe they have Christianity in common, but like fucking nothing. But as far as they're concerned, it's like it's European. And whereas like anyone with a darker skin is like, oh, well, if you're dark, then you're from like Southeast Asia, or you're from South America, or if like your skin tone is really dark, then you're from Africa. It's just a really unsophisticated way to look at stuff, but it's just how we do stuff here. Whereas if you ever visit Europe, they have like, I don't know what it is. They have some fucking eyes for countries, man. Like if you're in North America, like America or Canada, someone will look at you, and if you're like white, they'll be like, oh, you're European. Okay, cool. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like I don't care if you're from France, Germany, UK, Slavic countries. I don't give a shit. Okay, you're European. And then and then you go to Europe, and someone looks at you, and they go, oh, so you appear to be 14% German. I think you have like 11% Spaniard in you. I want to say 27% UK. You have a large amount of French, so I'm going to say like 35%. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? It's crazy shit, man. As someone from the South, you'd be surprised at how accepting the South is as what you expect. But I don't get out as much, so I could have a different perspective. Yeah, no. And again, unhinged. I'm not saying, I want to be clear. I'm not saying like that's about people being accepting or unaccepting, or like people being racist or whatever. I just mean like we have an unsophisticated way to look at stuff. We don't care about a person's nationality. Now, the truth is, someone with my skin tone could be anywhere from Brazilian, Colombian, Paraguayan, Uruguay, Indian, Iranian, like anything. I could be of like 50 different countries. But here, but like in Canada or in the States, as far as they're concerned, I'm brown. That's all that matters. What that means, no one gives a fuck. I'm brown. But like I go to Europe and it's like, oh, so where are you from exactly? No. Give me your fucking postal code, motherfucker. I was like, holy shit, bro. I took notes of what you said. Where was I? That's great. Yeah. I'll download it. Trust I just need to make some room on my PC for it. I have a permanent debuff of being mistaken as Indian. Where the fuck? We've been talking for so long. I completely lost where my fucking place was. After emphasizing the need to take note of the investigator's safety, Klein folded the letter, stuffed it in the envelope, affixed a black stamp on it, and sent. Then he wrote down the recipient's name, Detective Stewart. In Empress Borough, in the opulent villa of Earl Hall, Susie was lying in the corner of the study, looking around bored. With a bulging stomach, Earl Hall took a puff with his pipe and said to his eldest son, I don't know why I insisted on having you be on the National Atmospheric Pollution Council. Hibbert Hall replied thoughtfully, you wish to influence the formulation of the relevant laws and policies. No, although I'm the second largest shareholder of the Constant Coal and Steel Consortium, I don't really care about this problem. I've been urging them to make adjustments accordingly. I have no doubt that fixing atmospheric pollution is a future trend. Wait, Ramiro is Indian? Ramiro, you understand it would be so much better if you just leaned into it, right? Because the harder you fight back, the harder everyone tries to push this on you. Hibbert, although our family has fixed assets in the House of Lords, you will also become a member of Parliament in the House of Lords in time. So why not show some nobles? So why do some nobles have more influence than others while they are all members of Parliament or the House of Lords, notwithstanding the Speaker and other people with special status? Hibbert thought for a moment, then said the titles of nobility, wealth, commercial status, as well as relationships between the government and the army. That's only a part of it. In addition to one's own ability to handle matters, people will always rely on those with rich experience and those who have participated in similar matters. In the future, if you wish to have any achievement in politics, in addition to inheriting a seat, you will also need to try your best at participating in various matters and display the corresponding capabilities. Gradually, your activity will catch the eye of various members of Parliament, and they will slowly find you trustworthy, and that will be your source of influence. That is absolutely true. Is this Susie? Or, sorry, Susie. Is this, who said this? Earl Hall. Okay. Earl Hall. This is absolutely true. as much as I hate to say it, like when you're at your job or like at any place where you want to be like stand out, or you whatever that is, whether you're out with like people, whether you're trying to make connections, whether you're at your job, whatever, go out of your way to do stuff and provide information even when it's not necessary. Now, I don't mean like be the asshole who doesn't shut the fuck up in a meeting. I mean, when a problem comes up, even if it has nothing to do with you, try to fix it. That like people value that so much. Like I don't give it like I wasn't at my job that long, and again, I was really young and I was a part-timer, but I still to this day still have managers that I've never even officially worked with. I just like had a brief or a couple of shifts with or whatever because I was helping them out. Reach out to me to say like hey, like if in the future you ever want to come back, give me a shout. Okay, we'll always have a position open for you, or we'll find something for you, or like that sort of stuff. And that's like really nice to have in the military. That just gets you more responsibility and no extra pay. I can't speak to the military. My instinct would be that's probably true for a little bit. Like it would probably get you more responsibility and no extra pay for a little bit, but then you'd probably be on the fast track to being promoted. But that's just my gut instinct. I have no earthly idea about the military. I can't speak to it in any real sense. That it might just be the case that the military just dogs you for trying to do extra. I don't know. Look at the current situation of nobles of the Intus Republic, Hibbert. You should understand that with the passage of time and the development of society, the obvious privileges will be weakened and one's title will become less and less important. It's just a title of honor, and the position and influence of the business world is what you should pay attention to. What if you encounter something you're not good at? Then pretend you can handle it. Don't worry about wasting money. Form professional teams, listen to their opinions, and make decisions. Everyone has a lot of areas they're not good at, and only money is multifaceted. I see, Father. At this moment, Susie was by his side, yawned in boredom. This is also one more. Sorry, I don't know. We're getting like super political. Is it just me, or do I feel like my afternoon streams are like way more political than my morning ones? Morning for me, again, whatever the fuck it is for you guys. Devil wishes uncle was as wise as yes. That's like another thing. Like only money is multifaceted. This is like don't worry about wasting money. This is one of those things that like is so fucking handy to have. Like when you're rich, you just have so much more ability to just fuck up because money can just fix it. Whereas when you don't have that luxury, when you don't have money to burn, you don't have money like I made a mistake. Oh, I'll just I got arrested. Oh, well, I'll just post bail, I'll go out, whatever. You don't have that ability. Like, fuck, dude, you just get fucked. So like having money to burn is like, it's so useful in so many aspects of life in like a bullshit way that it shouldn't be, but it's just the case. At that moment, Susie, who was by his side, yawned in boredom. When it was all over, she slipped into Audrey's art studio, repeated everything that she heard, and finally muttered, I have no idea what they were talking about. They were discussing a good thing that involves reducing the pungent smell you smell. Is that so? Audrey didn't answer and thought of something else. She had intended to quietly draw attention to the bad conditions of the East Borough, the factory area, and the dock area, but in the last two social gatherings, she found herself unable to find an opportunity. Those nobles, those members of parliament, and senior civil servants would never talk about such matters. There was no way to steer them towards that topic, even if she wanted to. On Monday afternoon, Klein returned to 15 Minsk Street from the Quelaag Club. As Stewart had yet to provide any results from his preliminary investigation, and since he was temporarily unable to find a suitable candidate to become an apothecary, Klein had nothing to do yesterday and today. Therefore, he simply went to the Quelaag Club to practice his shooting, read, and get some food. Is it Justin? How's it going, man? Is it possible that Klein somehow gets this to Audrey, who then gets this somehow to the Viscount, and he joins the member as and he joins the tarot club. New camera angle. Justin, I'm just trying out my what my stream setup's gonna look like when I'm visiting my granddad. I'm just streaming from my laptop, so I'm using my phone. So yeah, this is gonna be the angle when I'm there. I just wanted to try it out today to see if it worked okay, like relatively okay. Again, the angle is like a hit or miss for some people. That's fine. Again, it's not permanent. It's just a temporary thing when I'm visiting my granddad, so I can stream at least a little bit. As Stewart had yet to provide any results from his preliminary investigation, and since he was temporarily unable to find a candidate to become an apothecary, our client had nothing to do yesterday and today. Therefore, he simply went to the Quelaag Club to practice his shooting, read, and get some food. This is the process. He knew how to get in the process, he got to know many members of the club. What the fuck? Sorry. I wouldn't... Jesus Christ, Justin. What the fuck, dude? Or she can give it to Fours so that Fours can get money out of those rich nobles. Oh, that would work too. Yes. Whenever I have a political talk with someone, I'm just in my head writing down notes for world building. What? Are you writing a novel Unhinged? What world building? What are you referencing? Help. There it is. I told you, just ignore him, man. The more you react, you're giving him what he wants, okay? I know it's hard, but you gotta let it go. It'll be okay. I have so many novels I haven't finished. Oh, dope! All right, good for you, man. That's awesome. If you have one that you really like or something, let us. Excuse me. Sorry, I just had a fucking tab open on my Chrome that I wasn't using. I don't know what that tab even was, and it was using 2.5 gigs of RAM. I was like, what the fuck? But yeah, if there's one you particularly like or something Unhinged, toss it in the Discord. I'd be happy to check it out. This is the lifeblood of future business opportunities, Klein sighed, and then went above the grey fog. He went about his preparation step by step, conjuring the fake world and familiarizing himself with the all-black eye, and then sent a message to the sun that the Tarot Club was beginning. After all this was done, he waited for 3 o'clock. He then pulled the corresponding crimson stars and established a firm connection. The magician had her own star as well. Under the pretext of concentrating on her will, Forswall sent Geo away, and for a moment she was dazed by the sudden rush of the grey fog. In the blink of an eye, she found herself above the mysterious and serene grey fog. She was in a majestic palace, and in front of her was once again an ancient bronze table. Surrounded around the table were blurry figures, one after another. One figure after another. Are these the gathering members that Mr. Fool spoke of? Forrest felt the members of this gathering were all very, very powerful Beyonders. Not really. We have... What do we have now? 2 sequence 7s, a sequence 8, and 2 sequence 9s? Is that it? Alger's currently a sequence 7, I think. I don't think he's become a Wind Blessed yet. Klein is also a sequence 7. Audrey's a sequence 8. And then Fours and the Sun are both sequence 9 currently, right? Wait, no, has the Sun moved up to sequence 8 actually? Wait, hold on. I might be misremembering this. Did he get to sequence 8? I can't remember. Light Suppliant. I don't remember. No, I feel like he's still 9. Except for me, she thought, without confidence and full of fear. However, looking at it from another perspective, since I can join this gathering as a Sequence 9, the other members might not necessarily be very strong. The requirement for this gathering was obviously not about strength, but something else. A member must be able to establish a connection with Mr. Fool. Forrest quickly rejected her first judgment and relaxed. At the same time, Audrey discovered that there was a new person. It's a woman. Is it Geo or Forrest? Or someone else? Audrey nearly forgot to greet Mr. Fool in a bid to get a closer look at the new member. No matter how blurry the figure was, she could still see her hair color, silhouette, and accented verbal tics. I must also take note, at the very beginning, the Hanged Man managed to identify me as a noble from my special pronunciation of certain words, and my habit of using certain special words. Audrey stood up, lifted her skirt, and said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Fool." Is Derek already Sequence 7? Am I misremembering? Solar High Priest? What the fuck? Alright, I'm sorry. I forget. I'm sorry. I'm old. After the greeting, she didn't conceal her curiosity and asked, "This is..." What? I'm sorry, guys. God, why do you get so pissy with me? I don't remember everything. Give me a break. Alter is already Sequence 0. He's just hiding his strength. He didn't even know about Sequence 0 just, like, until 2 days ago. Please read the name. Wait, the name of what? Oh, it worked. Oh, sorry. I was like, oh, it's unhinged. That's why. Oh, sorry. I'm stupid. No. Okay, never mind. God, dude. I thought I'm getting pretty good at ignoring it, but sometimes, you know, you're not looking at the name. You just read the thing. You're like, what? Oh, fucking clown down, dude. Man, I actually like having headphones in for the music. It feels so much more. Like I'm vibing. It's just a good time. This is Miss Magician, our newest member. This is Miss Justice. That's Mr. Hanged Man. As Forrest nodded her head in a form of greeting with a corresponding codename, she observed the other members. Miss Justice is a blonde and seems very young. She sits very gracefully. Mr. Hanged Man has dark blue hair, as messy as seaweeds. He doesn't have a very bulky figure. He doesn't seem to like to talk, but when observed by him, it gave me a sense of unease. He must be the leader of some faction. Mr. Sun looks like a teenager. He's very silent and reserved. Other than that, I can't tell anything else. Maybe he's just as weak as me. Mr. World's eyes are very cold and very gloomy. It's obvious that he isn't someone to be trifled with. Anyways, I'm a lurk. That's fine. Okay, I need to find out. Sorry, let me just look through my notes really quickly. I need to find out what sequence Derek is. It's gonna bother me. Hold on. Derek Berg. Let's go. Okay. No, he's sequence 8. Yep, he got there. Okay, he's at sequence 8. Okay. Well, fucking unhinged. God damn it. Had me doubting everything. When she looked at the other members, they were also looking at her. Among them, Miss Justice was the most attentive. From her figure, I can eliminate Miss Shio, brown hair and slightly curled. Is it Madame Forrest? I can't rule out the possibility that Mr. Fool pulled someone else in. Her pronunciation and the way her mouth moves is the same as her Backland accent. Her aura and emotional colors match as well. It's unlikely that Mr. Fool will specially create a fake image for the members, right? There's no need for him to hide anything. After a few seconds of sizing Forrest up, Audrey nearly superposed the blurry image with her impression of Forrest. If I can find another trait in another area, I can almost be certain. She waited to verify with interest her beyond her powers. At the same time, she felt that there was no need to reveal her identity to Forrest. It'd be better to keep some secrets. Yes, let's wait. Let's see when she finds out. Audrey withdrew her gaze, produced a faint smile, and squirmed. At that moment, since there was no new Rizal diaries, Klein controlled the world and said, I want to know about the Devil and Guardian sequences. He was certain that the Sun knew the details of Sequence 6 Devil because he previously mentioned Devil studies, and In order not to expose the fact that he was investigating a series of murders, he deliberately added the sequence 5 Guardian of the Combat Pathway, also known as the Giant Pathway. It's the mainstream path of the Beyonders in the City of Circled, so it was impossible for the Sun not to be aware. As for the corresponding sequence 9, Warriors, Pugilist, Weapons Warrior, Klein had long since learned of the details from the Nighthawk's confidential information. As for the information regarding sequence 6, Dawn Paladin, he had just learned its information from the Bishop Utravsky. Therefore, he could only ask and be willing to pay a price without wasting money for sequence 5, Guardian. Nope, not what I wanted to do. Sorry, bro, when did war become harder than Sekiro? I doubt that happened. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Yes, I have all of those. You're trying to do a second stage for the event? In addition, he didn't directly ask the Sun, but instead issued the request to everyone, because according to the way things had developed, it was impossible for the world who had just joined the Tarot Club to know the City of Silver held a Giant Pathway. If it's just the Devil Pathway, I know a little about it. Alger had some standing in the Church of Storm. Derek glanced at him and said, I'm very knowledgeable about these two. The payment I want is information related to the fallen creator. The equivalence of the two pieces of information will be determined by Mr. Fool. Having said that, he realized that he not only received Mr. Fool's agreement, as he hurriedly turned his head to Mr. Fool to make the request reverently. Son, don't blame me. You were the one who made the request. The corner of Son's mouth twitched as he said, sure. It did happen. You get absolute dog walked. Wait, what? Wait, what did happen? What am I missing? Alright, whatever. Furthermore, when it comes to the understanding of the true creator, none of the ladies and gentlemen present can compare it to me, he added in his heart. While they were discussing the matter, the magician Forrest was stunned upon hearing the conversation. The Devil Pathway? The Devil sequence is the Devil Pathway? Which number is it? What is the Guardian Pathway? What number is it? I've never even heard of it. The Fallen Creator? The True Creator? They're actually exchanging information regarding the True Creator? That deity is known as the most ancient and powerful existence among the deities. What kind of organization did I join? I got absolutely dog walked for hours doing this event. Oh. Oh, I see. I request a private exchange, but I really want to hear it, but I need to be frugal for the time being. There's still 2 more months for the new year. Endure it, Audrey. Their sights, vision, and spirituality were then shielded by Klein. The world quickly lowered his head and wrote on a conjured sheet of paper with his own understanding of the true creator, including the standard likeness as the Hanged Giant and the eye behind the shadow curtains, including the information that the Aurora Order members believed that this evil god was the creator of everything. At the end, Klein had included his impression of the evil god through his interaction with the evil god Spawn, the sensation of the deity's aura, and the sensation when listening to the true creator's voice. Fallen, twisted, crazy, and evil. Then, as Mr. Fool gave a comment, this piece of information is slightly more valuable than the information regarding the Devil and Guardian sequences, but the difference isn't that huge. Thank you, Mr. Fool. Derek earnestly received the piece of goatskin and read through it several times. The thing he was most concerned about, the true creator was known as the true creator, was the creator of everything. Fuck, man. Alright, it's fine. We're coming up to the end. Alright, twisted, fallen, and crazy. Derek repeated the words, vaguely able to see the dark tragedy that had engulfed everything in the City of Silver for more than 2,000 years. Did the Lord not abandon us? It's just that he had gone mad? Derek found himself able to resist using blasphemous thoughts to examine the Lord that created everything. It's time for you to answer my question, the world urged. Derek restrained seething and sorrowful thoughts and said, when different species and of creatures consume the devil potion, they will experience different kinds of mutations. They will have traits that are unique to them. What devil would you like to know about? There's distinctions? He soon realized one thing. There was a blind spot in his thought process. What if the serial killer wasn't a human but an animal? After consuming the corresponding potion, he would transform into a devil animal. One step at a time, he would turn into a devil. How could it be a devil animal? What? Although the probability of an animal losing control far exceeds that of a human, it still wasn't enough to deal with the what-ifs. I have to investigate this, but if that's the case, there'd be more questions. Where did the devil mutated from the animal obtain the potion and beyond ingredients? Like Susie, but devil? Yeah, no, I get that, but like, and a dog can rise to sequence 9, 8, but sequence 5? This seems crazy. Or 6 trying to get to 5 rather, but still, you get my point. Klein maintained his silence and said, I want to know the common trait of all kinds of devil. Klein recollected and organized his thoughts. The most frightening thing about a devil is that you can cause lethal damage to it in very short periods of time and take action to put that into practice. He can then sense, notice, and grasp where the danger comes from and who it came from, and then selectively kill or seek revenge on them. And this period of time varies from a few minutes to a day. Different devils have different instincts. This ability is a little scary, but it's different from a clown's intuition. It doesn't seem like it can be used in combat, but instead detects the source of danger ahead of time. It's closer to a whim. I don't know if I can interfere with it or block this intuition using the mysterious space above the gray fog. Would Stuart end up in danger? Klein leaned back into his chair, seemingly uninterested in the subject of the discussion between the sun and the world. Seeing that the world didn't show any sign of surprise, Derek continued. They all possess the ability to gigantify their body and thus break free from their bindings. I love how the world doesn't appear surprised by anything because he's incapable of it. I can't believe YouTube is 20 years old. Yeah, YouTube is 20. Yeah, that does sound right. 2005? I thought it was 06. Oh no, so February 14th, 05. You're right. Where was I? Temporarily increasing their strength and speed. Their skin is mutable, equivalent to wearing a layer of hard armor. Their flesh and blood can act as a retardant and reduce damage. They're immune to most toxins and don't fear curses or flames to a certain degree. They also have innate flame and corruption type spells. They're cold-blooded, don't panic, don't feel fear, and have a strong ability when it comes to physical combat. They're also adept at using various items to inflict damage. Their greatest weakness is that they tend to lose control. Even if they don't, they will often display cold-bloodedness and cruel madness, easily being controlled by desires such as bloodlust and murderous intent. Really strong, as expected of a Sequence 6 devil. Could it be that among the 22 Beyonder pathways below the high sequences, Sequence 6 or 7s are the threshold of qualitative change? In this respect, different sequences differ, thus they have become the dividing lines between ancient and modern mid-sequences. I'm very satisfied with your information. Oh, that's a really cool way to put it. That's why they became the dividing lines between the ancient and modern mid-sequences. That's really cool. Derek didn't act modestly. He nodded and said, Guardians seldom suffer damage. Once they enter a defensive state and give up attacking, few can break through their defenses below that of a high sequence. That's kind of crazy. It's the same for numerous types of damage. When they attack, their corresponding defenses will decrease significantly, but it'll still be stronger than full body armor. Never mind, dude. I'm really starting to like Guardian. What the fuck? Their Sword of Dawn and their Hurricane of Light, as well as their own Beyonder powers, allow them to deal damage to any type of monster. They're not confused by illusion. They can help their comrades within a certain range, but take damage and protecting them. They can help their comrades within a certain range by taking damage and protecting them. Following the description given by Derek, Klein couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Compared to Guardian, a Dawn Paladin's defense is like that of a child versus an adult. A Guardian would probably be able to withstand the bullets of a steam rifle. In the words of this era, they wouldn't die unless they were focused on by large caliber cannons. That's kind of crazy. So if that guy was like one sequence higher, then Klein just wouldn't have had any shot, because he could just sit there and not even attack him, but just sit there and just go, nah, and then you can't beat him. And it's not even a high sequence Beyonder? Yeah, exactly. Warrior Pathway is goated? Yeah, clearly that seems to be really good. My new top might man, Warrior Pathway might be part of my new top 3. Shit. Yeah, that might be part of my new top 3. Demoness on top. When Derek finished, Klein manipulated the world to say, more detailed than I thought, transaction complete. Before the world finished his sentence, Klein simultaneously removed the barriers, insulting Justice, Hangman, and the Magician. Warrior is boring as hell, strong as fuck but boring. Prisoner is up there, trust. Prisoner could be, I don't know anything about it, right? I know it exists, nothing beyond that. After a few seconds, the world looked around and said, I don't have any more requests for now. Having a rough understanding of the process and characteristics, Force was eager to buy the corresponding Sequence 8 Trickmaster of the Apprentice sequence. She clearly remembered that Mr. Fool had said that the reason she was troubled by the full moon was due to her low natural order of life, and that her pain would decrease with the rise of sequences. Force was eager to obtain the next formula. However, it would expose the Beyonder pathway I'm from. When everyone becomes familiar with each other and knows more, exposure will become less of a serious threat. But for the next few gatherings, I have to conceal that so that the members won't be able to identify the real me. I wish to obtain the formula for Apothecary and Trickmaster. I will pay in cash. Why does she want Apothecary? Well, I guess maybe she's just doing that to hide, I guess. But Shepard Undisputed #1. Shepard, it can be, again, because Shepard is such a safe bet, right? Like, you can just take the powers of everybody. But, like, I don't like that idea. I've never liked the idea of, like, what's the saying? Like, jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. I much prefer, like, hey, you get to pick up, you get one trait, you get one pathway, pick one. You don't get to fucking flip flop through 5 of them at a time, bitch. That just feels a little cheap. So the flesh matching. She intentionally added the apothecary formula to her actual request in order to cause the others to have a misinterpretation. If any members of the gathering really had the formula, she would still take it. She could then sell it at a higher price to the Viscount, who had long been waiting for this formula. In any case, she definitely wouldn't suffer any losses because of this, and might even make a huge profit. As for money, Force wasn't short of it for the time being. Oh! Not only were the royalties of her best-selling book entering her account over time, it was accumulating to quite a sizable amount, plus she had an additional income stream, such as the $650 she received from Miss Audrey in the Rear Admiral and Intes Ambassador Bakerland cases. Poor Gio, she spent more than £200 to compensate the families of the 2 deceased which were involved in the Lanavis case. Creeping Hunger had 5, Shepard has 7. Oh god, that's even worse. Like, you get 7 out of 22? Really 8 out of 22? Because 1 you already have because you're a Shepard. So you have 8 out of 22? Because that fundamentally feels like, if we're saying all the, if we're saying all of the pathways are equally strong, which I think I've heard you guys say, that all of them are equally strong, And if that's the case, imagine how much weakness there has to be to make up for the fact that you have access to 8 fucking pathways. I don't know, like that, it just kind of feels like, hmm. I wonder if Miss Audrey would pay when things clear up. I wonder if Miss Audrey would pay her when things clear up. What? The note from Mr. Fool's honorary name on it was from the bookcase of the Viscount Glaine's house. Could it be that one of his ancestors was a member of this gathering? Is this a gathering that has been held regularly for decades, if not centuries? Only 2 seats away from her, Justice Audrey was a little stunned when she heard Forrest's request for apothecary and trickmaster, before she accurately grasped Forrest's thoughts. She's Forrest, the trickmaster's for herself, and the apothecary is to be sold to Gleint. She can do this to complicate the situation and fool others. Audrey saw right through her in like half a second. She's not of a very high sequence, at best 8, most likely 9. Who knows where Mr. Fool pulled her from, or if she's from a special place. Her accent has the peculiarities of a backland, but she's not necessarily in backland, the hanged man was observing, making sure the new member wasn't a threat to him. The son, Derek, didn't think too much. He was just trying to guess whether Miss Magician belonged to the City of Silver, or she was from the world where Miss Justice and the others lived. Klein cast a look of pity on Miss Magician, not expecting much from her attempt to conceal her identity. When you met a telepathist who was very familiar with you, you might not be able to conceal your true thoughts, even if you know the other party's ability beforehand and are on guard. What's more, you don't even know, and you don't even know anything. The fool sighed. At the same time, he controlled the world to say, I have the apothecary formula, 230 pounds. As for the trickmaster formula, I'll do my best to find it, but I can't guarantee it. There was no contradiction between exchanging the apothecary formula for money and using it to groom a useful helper. They could be run in conjunction, so Klein made the world speak first so as to not be intercepted by the hanged man or the sun. As for the formula for Trickmaster, he had some ideas. From his point of view, the mystical item, Master Key, was most likely related to the corresponding sequence of Trickmaster, Apprentice. I agree, that's what I was thinking. If he were able to divine its origins, he might be able to find some clues. That's a good idea. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that. I was thinking more that just because it's a sequence, it's part of a sequence, it might eventually lead him to find someone who is of a higher level of that sequence because of like resonance or whatever, but that works even better. I feel like resonance is going to play like a really big part in the future. It feels like a really important bit of dialogue. Like possibly the most important bit of dialogue I've read in a while. Well, actually, the most convenient way is to ask the existence suspected to be Mr. Door, who keeps mumbling during a full moon. In addition to asking for help, he's probably providing formulas in the acting method so as to make the target stronger and complete difficult tasks. Unfortunately, before the target is strong, they can't even hear the ravings. They'll just break down and be close to losing control. This results in a vicious cycle. I hope, what do you call it? I hope Klein tells the world, or not the world, Fours or the magician about the acting method, because we don't know if she knows, and if she doesn't, she's gonna lose control. Instead of responding to Mr. World's words, Audrey looked around and saw that the hanged man, Justice, and the sun had no intention of opening their mouth. It was obvious they didn't know the formulas. Mr. World, please try your best to find the Trickmaster formula as soon as possible. As for the apothecary formula, I plan to buy it now. How should I make the payment? The other party seemed to be a man from Lone as well, and he's willing to accept gold pounds. But the gold pounds had always been more recognized than the other currencies. The world completely didn't mind sizing her up, as he said. You can sacrifice the money to Mr. Fool after you return. That way the transaction will be closed. The exact sacrificial ritual is... Sacrifice? Mr. Fool can still accept sacrifice? His natural life order has reached such a level? No wonder he used that tone to describe the owner of the ravings during the full moon. After finishing his description, Klein displayed the apothecary formula in front of the world and had the fake person hand it to Miss Magician. Human error. Secret supplement are always 2 of 3 things: beautiful, smart, or joining the... The transaction is witnessed by Mr. Fool, so you don't have to worry if it's fake. I trust Mr. Fool's. Mr. Fool, Forrest nodded immediately. She spread the formula open and began memorizing it seriously. Jesus Christ, that's kind of messed. Jesus. Well, 3 hours. Kind of can't blame it. It's fine. We're at almost 3 hours now? Yeah, Jesus. Okay. At that moment, Audrey, who couldn't bear to see her friend go through such a labor, commented, "You can seek Mr. Fool's help during the sacrifice to recall the formula. You don't have to memorize it specially. If you encounter any problems, you can also pray to him by reciting his honorific name." Him? Miss Justice is actually using a salutation to describe deities? Could it be that he really is he? But why would he be willing to help us in such trivial things? That doesn't make any sense. As long as the ritualistic magic is done right, the 7 Orthodox gods will often respond to their believers as well. Thank you for telling me. Your name is just like your character. Audrey felt a little guilty. She suddenly seemed to recall a problem. Miss Magician, do you know of the acting method? Acting method? Forrest looked at Justice. She soon discovered that the members such as the Sun and the Hanged Man had no additional reaction to the term. Clearly, they knew what it meant. No, remember you started and restarted stream. We're at 5 hours now? Right. Yes, I'm just losing my fucking mind. Alright, thanks for popping by, Mikhail. I appreciate it, buddy. Hope have a great rest of your night. She soon discovered, today's gathering makes me feel like a country bumpkin who just arrived in Backland. I've been to so many gatherings. At the very least, she couldn't help but want to write a novel about the feelings of hers, naming it Miss Wall's Tour of Dreamland. You don't seem to know. Mr. Fool, can I teach her the acting method? If so, what price would she have to pay? Audrey intended to ask directly if it was like before, trading the information for entries for Roselle's diary. However, she quickly remembered there was a great overlap between the Beyonder circles of Forrest and her own. Therefore, if she did that, she might lose the opportunity of obtaining Roselle's diary. It's not a very important problem, since it's just a matter of time before Forrest realizes that Mr. Fool wants Roselle's diary, and I would certainly have other Beyonder circles. However, she knows that I have a few pages of Roselle's diary, and if she wants to collect them, she'll come to me. But Mr. Fool has already read all of mine, and after this gathering, I have to find a chance to tell Forrest that all of Roselle's diary were accidentally lost. Audrey predicted the chain of events and tried her best to convey her concerns to Mr. Fool in a body language. What's Miss Justice hinting at? Oh, she knows Forrest but doesn't want to reveal her identity, which means she doesn't want the payment I request to cause any problems. You can make the decision. You can do the explanation, since I don't wish to repeat what I've said in the past. This is also a form of respect to the god, as he added inwardly. Oh yeah, because he can't technically tell her either. I mean, he might be able to inside the Grey Fog, but even still, why take that chance? One day, every Lord of the Mystery is gonna just jump on Unhinged in an alleyway. The boss is starting to get suspicious. No worries, Dr. Z. Thanks for popping by. We're almost done anyway. Have a great rest of your day. Praise Mr. Fool. She straightened her back and said, "The acting method is a method to speed up the mastery of potions and minimize the risk of losing control. Do you want to know about it? There's such a method?" Yes. As long as one was a Beyonder, there's no way they wouldn't wish to learn of similar methods. There are 2 requirements. One, without the permission of Mr. Fool, you are not to teach the acting method to others. The second is to pay £200. Her original plan was to use the Roselle diary as a benchmark for the price. The number of pages she and the Hanged Man used to repay the debt had been converted to a corresponding price, but in reality, Roselle's diary was sold cheaply because it couldn't be deciphered, and most of the time it was impossible to determine which was real. Converting that to a total price was a letdown to the value of the acting method. Therefore, she added a little more on that benchmark. Devil. I have a crazy dog. If Mr. Fool's Blessed is no longer short of money, then I will take the £200, and I will look for the diary entries to repay my debt. £200? That's way too cheap, isn't it? Deal, Forrest said. After she finished speaking, she felt her heart pain for the money. She felt that her bank balance was decreasing at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Alrighty, 3:12, all done. Look at that. Almost 3 hours on the dot. What is that, 9? Is that 9 chapters? Yeah, 9. That's pretty good. Alright. That was a lot of good chapters. Alright, I really hope Gio also enters the Tarot Club in the future. Yeah. But on that note, thank you everyone so much for joining the stream. I'm glad even on my laptop I can do this, so I know even when I'm away, it may not look quite as pretty or whatever, but we can make it work, and you know, it looks semi-decent, I think. So that's good. And then yeah, I hope to catch you all for the future streams, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day or night. Hope it's later than usual. If you want to practice geography, you should play geography. How many probably like 7, like 7, 8, 9, like usual, Romero. Why? What happened? Is something happening? You know what? I'll end stream. We can talk in Discord later. It's fine. All right. Thanks. Thank you, everyone.